I want you to picture this scene. It's happening right now, maybe in a rural village halfway across the world, but the underlying friction is honestly universal.
Right, yeah.
So you have a young guy sitting on a wooden bench at a rural tea stall.
Huh?
He's drinking this cheap overboiled tea, and he is just illuminated by the glow of his smartphone.
The classic modern setup,
But
really.
and on that screen, he's watching these high-speed, high-production videos of successful entrepreneurs, you know the type.
Oh, yeah. Tech founders talking about venture capital, guys leaning against luxury cars in Dubai or Silicon Valley.
Right. And as he watches this, he looks up, he sees a dirt road, hears a rooster crow, and just sighs with absolute soul-crushing frustration.
Because the contrast couldn't be sharper. I mean, he has instant, high-speed internet access to the global economy.
Yeah.
Yet he is sitting in what feels like a localized pocket of total economic stagnation.
And what goes through his mind? I mean, the data we are looking at for today's deep dive captures this perfectly. He starts cursing his geography.
Oh, totally. Blaming everything around him.
He blames his ancestors. He thinks, well, my grandfather was a farmer, my father was a farmer. They didn't leave me a massive inherited bank balance or a trust fund.
So he just assumes he's fundamentally doomed.
Right. He believes the game is rigged against him purely because of where he happens to be standing. And society actually reinforces this, right? It offers him this terrible false choice.
The classic devastating dichotomy of rural youth. It's awful.
It really is. Like option one, you stay in the village, remain unemployed, feel like a burden to your family, and watch your life rot away in that tea stall.
Which nobody wants.
No. Or option two, you escape. You pack a small bag, you leave your family behind, and you migrate to a massively overcrowded, hyper-polluted urban center.
Like Dhaka, which the materials highlight specifically.
Yeah, exactly. You get a job in a garment factory or some faceless corporation. The materials literally describe this as slavery.
And, I mean, the grand prize for uprooting your entire existence.
A salary of maybe 15,000 taka a month.
Right. And to put that 15,000 taka into perspective, for anyone unfamiliar with the local economy, it is barely a survival wage in a major metropolitan center like Dhaka.
It's nothing.
That amount might cover a small, suffocating room in a slum, maybe your basic rice and lentils, and your bus fare.
Wow.
You are trading your youth, your physical health, and your proximity to your community just to tread water. You aren't building wealth, you are just surviving the city.
But the reason we are doing this deep dive today is to completely shatter that narrative.
Yes, because it needs to be shattered.
Because looking closely at the actual microeconomics of these regions reveals something genuinely shocking. The village is not a barren wasteland devoid of money.
Not at all.
If you look at it through the right lens, it's actually closer to a gold mine.
Yeah, I like to think of the rural economy as a giant leaky bucket. Money is actually pouring into these villages all the time.
Where is it coming from, though?
Well, you have massive influxes of cash from agricultural harvests, and crucially, you have remittance money coming in from expatriate family members working overseas in the Middle East or Europe.
Oh, right. So the cash is literally there.
The cash is there. The problem is the leaks.
The leaks.
Right. The money bleeds out almost immediately to city middlemen, inefficient supply chains, and just terrible local debt structures.
So to capture that wealth, to patch those leaks, the problem you have to fix isn't your geography. The core issue preventing that young guy in the tea stall from building wealth is what the materials bluntly call a rusted brain.
A rusted brain. It's a perfect encapsulation of a specific psychological barrier.
How so?
Well, people are culturally conditioned to believe that starting a business is an incredibly formal, heavy endeavor.
Like they need a ton of money.
Exactly. They think it requires hundreds of thousands in upfront capital, navigating massive bank loans, buying land, and having some shiny air-conditioned office.
So we're going to unpack the exact step-by-step blueprint of a young man named Hasadul who proved that entire mindset completely wrong.
It's a fascinating case study.
It really is. He stared down that societal pressure to go take a 15,000 taka factory job in the city, and he flat out rejected it.
Good for him.
Right. He stayed in his village. And using only 15,000 to 20,000 taka in initial capital, which is literally just 1 month of that urban survival wage, he executed 3 localized business models.
And generated a localized empire, making 80,000 taka in solid net monthly profit.
Which is huge. He turned 1 month's survival wage into a highly profitable, scalable operation without leaving his zip code.
And he did it entirely by shifting from a manual labor mindset to an ownership and mental strategy mindset.
I want to dig into that shift, actually, because this idea of the rested brain and the copycat trap is fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's the core of the issue.
Why do we automatically equate starting a business with massive financial risk, taking on heavy debt, and literally breaking our backs with physical labor?
It comes down to the psychological safety of following the herd.
Wow. Right.
And that is intensely magnified in a tight-knit rural community. When someone in a village wants to improve their station, they don't naturally look for invisible inefficiencies to solve.
They just look around.
Right? They look out their window at this seemingly successful person next door. They see a neighbor who has a large poultry farm or a livestock shed.
And they think, well, that's what a business looks like here. I need to do that.
Exactly. But the barrier to entry for that is just massive.
It really is.
To do that, they have to take out huge loans from an NGO or a microfinance bank. We are talking upwards of 100,000 taka just to build the physical infrastructure.
The cages, the sheds, the chick.
Yeah, the initial batch of chicks, that 100,000 taka represents over half a year of brutal labor to pay back.
That's insane.
They take on astronomical debt to enter a completely saturated commodity market.
And the risk profile is absolutely terrifying. You're not just taking on financial risk, you're taking on biological risk.
Oh, you are at the absolute mercy of nature.
Yeah.
You are doing intense, daily physical labor. Shoveling waste, buying fluctuating feed, regulating temperature.
It's a full-time, exhausting job.
And then suddenly, a disease like bird flu or Ronnie Ket hits the village. In a matter of 48 hours, your entire flock is just wiped out.
Gone.
Your inventory goes to zero. But guess what?
Your 100,000 taka debt to the NGO is still there.
It remains. This traditional model keeps rural entrepreneurs trapped in a vicious, multi-generational cycle of debt and manual labor.
So going back to that psychological safety aspect you mentioned, if the risk is so high and the failure rate is so devastating, why is this still the default path?
Because if you fail doing what everyone else is doing, it's socially acceptable failure.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
You could sit in the tea stall and say, man, the bird flu wiped me out just like it wiped that uncle last year.
And the community just nods in sympathy. Nobody
Yeah.
calls you stupid.
Exactly. But if you try something completely new, if you try to solve a problem no one else is trying to solve, and you fail,
You look foolish.
the community will say, we told you so. You should have just built a chicken shed.
Wow.
Overcoming that mental barrier, that fear of social judgment, and the belief that massive capital is the only path to entry is significantly harder than actually finding the money.
It's really the difference between being a commodity producer and being a strategist.
Yes.
And the data we're analyzing argues that because everyone is stuck in this copycat manual labor mindset, the actual business opportunities in a village are vastly superior to those in the city.
It is the literal definition of a blue ocean strategy applied to rural economics.
How so?
Well, think about a major city like Dhaka. You're competing with thousands of highly educated, hyper-competitive people fighting over marginal gains.
Right. Every single inefficiency is being ruthlessly optimized.
Exactly. But in the village, if you apply even a modicum of strategic thinking, you have virtually zero competition. Nobody else is using their brain to optimize the local supply chain.
So let's talk about how Hasadul actually did this. His first business model is something we can call the virtual poultry network.
I love this one.
It is a masterclass in risk-free arbitrage. He looks at this terrifying traditional farming model we just talked about, the 100,000 taka loan, the disease risk, the shoveling of chicken waste, and he steps entirely outside of it.
He decides to enter the poultry business by owning 0 chickens.
Right. He pivots from a high-risk production model to a low-capital logistics and service model.
How exactly does he map that out?
Okay, so he maps out his village and the neighboring areas, but he's not looking for land to buy. He identifies 40 specific local households.
Okay.
In these homes, the housewives, the mothers, are already raising 3 or 4 free-range local chickens in their backyards just for their own family's use, or to occasionally sell a few eggs for pocket change.
So they already have small-scale supply.
Exactly. Hasadul approaches these 40 homes and offers them a very specific deal. He promises to visit them twice a week on a highly reliable schedule and buy every single egg they produce right at their doorstep, strictly for cash.
Think about the friction he is removing for these suppliers.
It's massive.
Previously, if that woman wanted to monetize those eggs, she had to wait until she had enough to justify a trip to the local village market.
Or send her husband to haggle with the middlemen.
Right. By showing up at her door with cash in hand, Hasadul provides an incredibly powerful Psychological win.
It's so powerful that these women entirely stop sending their eggs to the local market. They essentially lock their supply in for Hasadul.
Wow.
He completely controls the local supply chain of authentic village eggs without carrying any of the traditional liability.
It is the analog rural version of a modern tech platform.
Uber doesn't own the cars.
Airbnb doesn't own the real estate.
Right? Hasadul doesn't own the chickens.
He buys no feed, he shells no waste, and crucially, he carries absolutely zero risk of disease.
That's the best part.
Right. If bird flu hits one of those 40 homes, Hasadul doesn't lose his capital. He just buys 3 fewer eggs that week. His financial exposure is limited entirely to the eggs he has already purchased that day.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. It can't be that simple. He's got baskets of eggs now. He has to actually sell them.
Yeah, that's the next hurdle.
If he just takes those eggs to the local village market, isn't he just going to get crushed by the middlemen? What's stopping the local syndicate from just dictating the price?
You've hit on the exact friction point that stops most rural entrepreneurs dead in their tracks: the local market syndicate.
Describe the reality of the syndicate for me.
Well, a village market isn't a free-flowing exchange of perfectly priced goods. It's heavily controlled by established wholesalers.
The uncles sitting on wooden crates?
Exactly. The uncles who collude on prices. When Hasadul first tried taking his eggs to that local market, they saw a young guy with no leverage, and they immediately ganged up on him.
Of course they did.
They lowballed his price, offering him literal pennies.
And on top of that, he is facing the physical friction of rural logistics.
Yes, the actual literal infrastructure. He is riding a bicycle with baskets of fragile eggs over unpaved, deeply rutted mud roads.
Oh, no.
On his very first attempts, he breaks a significant portion of his inventory just in transit. He takes a massive loss.
And this is the critical juncture. This is where the guy with the rusted brain quits.
Yep. He goes back to the tea stall and says, "See? The syndicate is too greedy, the roads are too bad, business is impossible unless you're rich."
But Hasadul realizes the local commodity market is a trap. He has to bypass it entirely. He can't play their game, so he changes the rules through value addition.
This pivot right here is the true separator between an employee mindset and an ownership mindset.
So here's what he does. He goes into the city and buys professional, high-quality paper egg cartons.
Okay.
The kind that securely hold a dozen eggs.
Which instantly solves the physical friction of the muddy roads. The breakage rate drops to 0.
Exactly. But it solves a much bigger psychological problem. He buys these empty boxes for about 5 taka each. Then he gets a cheap custom sticker printed.
A sticker.
Yeah, something that says Pure Village Local Egg, 100% organic. He seals the cartons, slaps the sticker on them, and completely ignores the local village market.
So where does he go?
He takes his product to the Upazila town, which is the larger sub-district center.
He identifies a completely different consumer base.
He targets the residential quarters of government officers, doctors, and the large premium bakeries.
William.
He knocks on their doors and completely changes the pitch. He isn't selling them eggs. He tells them, the eggs you buy in the market are commercial broiler eggs, mass-produced and flavorless. I am bringing you sealed boxes of pure, authentically sourced, free-range local village eggs directly from the farmers.
Let's analyze why this works so effectively, because what is he actually selling here? It isn't just poultry output.
He's selling trust, right?
Trust, packaging, and convenience. Those doctors, those government officials, they have a much higher disposable income.
Yeah.
And culturally, there is a massive premium placed on Deshi or local organic products. They crave that authenticity.
But they don't have the time to go get it.
Exactly. A busy doctor doesn't have the time to drive out to the mud roads of the village, knock on doors, and haggle for 3 eggs at a time. The local market doesn't guarantee authenticity anyway. Middlemen mix commercial eggs with local ones all the time.
So Hasadul bridged that gap.
He did. The sealed box and the sticker become a proxy for trust. He literally branded a commodity.
Let's break down the economics, because this is where the return on investment gets wild. He is buying these eggs from the village women for 150 taka a dozen.
Okay, so that's 12.5 taka per egg.
Right, that's his base cost of goods sold. Then he has the packaging. The paper carton and the custom sticker cost him 5 to 6 taka. Now, transport. He hires a local van or a battery-operated rickshaw to take him to the Upazila town. That costs him 50 taka. but he is transporting 20 boxes at once.
Ah, so economy of scale.
Exactly. His transport cost amortizes down to a negligible 2.5 to 3 taka per box.
Bringing his fully loaded landed cost to roughly 160 taka per dozen.
Now, what does he sell them for? Those doctors and officials happily hand over 200 to 230 taka per box.
Wow.
They don't even blink because at them, the convenience and the guaranteed quality are just worth the premium.
That is a 40 to 70 taka net profit margin on every single box.
Yeah.
In a rural economy, that kind of margin on a consumable, fast-moving good is astronomical.
If he scales that to just 100 boxes a week, which is only 1,200 eggs, easily collected from his 40 households, he generates 4,000 taka in weekly profit.
Which translates to 16,000 taka in pure net profit every month.
And here's the most crucial data point. What was his required capital to achieve this? Just 15,000 taka.
Basically, the cost of 1 month's salary at that terrible factory job.
Right.
He is operating a high-velocity cash machine. He uses that 15,000 taka to buy the eggs in the boxes, sells them for cash a few days later, pockets the 4,000 taka profit, and cycles the original 15,000 taka back into the village for the next batch.
It's amazing.
He is generating over 100% return on his working capital every single month.
But let me play devil's advocate here again. If he is making a 40 to 70 taka margin just by putting eggs in a paper box with a sticker, why aren't the rich syndicate guys at the market doing this?
Good point.
What's stopping the established middlemen from copying his carton idea tomorrow and crushing him with their massive capital?
It's a great question, and it goes to the heart of localized monopolies. The syndicate guys are volume players.
Okay.
Their entire business model is built on sitting in one place, buying in massive bulk at the lowest possible price, and shipping huge truckloads to the capital city. They are culturally and operationally entrenched in the commodity mindset.
They don't want to hustle.
Exactly. To do what Hospital does requires a completely different operational muscle. It requires going door to door in the town, building personal relationships with doctors and bakery owners, and meticulously managing the branding of small batches.
It's too much work for them.
The syndicate uncles consider that kind of customer-facing hustle beneath them. They are too comfortable in their entrenched positions to bother innovating on packaging and direct-to-consumer delivery.
So Hospital found a niche that was too small for the big players to care about, but lucrative enough to build his foundation.
He essentially slipped right under their radar by changing the playing field.
He solved his logistics problem and created a steady cash flow. But he still has a ceiling. He can only collect and sell so many eggs a week.
Right, there are only so many chickens.
Exactly. So how does a rural entrepreneur capture the broader daily spending of a village without falling into the traditional traps of rural retail? Because Hospital's second business model addresses this perfectly.
Oh, this one is a deep dive into the cultural psychology of village life.
It addresses perhaps the single most toxic element of rural economics, the culture of baki, or selling on credit.
Yes.
Hospital looks at the steady cash he's making from the eggs, and he wants to expand. He looks at the most ubiquitous business in the village, the local grocery store.
The corner shop. Every village has them.
They sell rice, lentils, oil, soap. People need these things every single day. It seems like a guaranteed moneymaker.
Right.
But there is a massive fatal flaw in this model.
The physical storefront itself is a trap.
Right. You set up a shop, you invest your capital to buy inventory, and you open your doors. And immediately, your uncle, your cousin, the guy you played cricket with as a kid, they walk in.
Oh, yeah, I know where this is going.
They pick up a bag of rice and a bottle of oil, and they say, hey, put it in the ledger, I'll pay you tomorrow.
Or I'll pay you after the next harvest.
Exactly. And you were instantly placed in an impossible social predicament.
It's intense emotional blackmail.
It really is. If you look your uncle in the eye and say, no, cash only, you aren't just losing a sale. You are rupturing a family relationship. You are branded as greedy, arrogant, a guy who forgot his roots.
But if you say yes...
If you extend that credit, you are slowly bleeding to death. Your capital is tied up in your neighbor's pantry. You can't restock your shelves, your inventory dwindles, and eventually the store goes bankrupt.
It's a lose-lose dynamic born entirely out of negative peer pressure. The cultural expectation in these communities is that a business owner must act as an informal, interest-free credit line for their extended social network.
It's wild.
The open shop door is an open invitation for people to leverage their social capital to extract your financial capital.
And the craziest part, Hasidul actually fell for this. He didn't magically know to avoid it. He opened a small grocery shop on his porch. And in week 1, the relatives came knocking, asking for baki.
This is where we see the transition from an employee to an owner in real time, though.
House.
Well, an employee complains about the unfairness of the situation. An owner changes the structure of the business to eliminate the vulnerability. What did he do?
Week 1, he shut the store down. He just closed it.
Incredible.
He realized that if the physical shop exists, he will eventually cave to the social pressure. So the question becomes, how do you run a local retail business when the cultural expectation is that you have to give away your inventory on credit?
You make the retail business invisible to the casual credit seeker.
Yeah.
You remove the stage where the peer pressure is applied.
Exactly. He pivots entirely to a pure subscription model, the zero credit cash box.
So smart.
He goes to the city wholesale market and buys bulk staples, rice, lentils, onions, cooking oil, basic soaps. But he doesn't put them on a shelf for people to browse. He designs 2 specific pre-packaged bundles, a 7-day weekly box and a 30-day mega box.
This completely changes the nature of the transaction. It shifts it from a casual walk-up impulse buy to a formalized service agreement.
And he is incredibly strategic about his targeted networking. He doesn't go door to door offering this to everyone. He specifically targets the most affluent demographics in the area.
Who are they?
Primarily expatriate families, households that have a son or husband working in the Middle East, sending back reliable monthly remittance money. He also targets local professionals like school teachers who draw a steady government salary.
He is deliberately isolating the demographic that has guaranteed liquidity and a strong preference for convenience over haggling in the dusty local market.
His pitch to them is brilliant. It's an absolute masterclass in framing an offer. He goes to the head of these households and says, look, I know what your typical monthly grocery list is. If you go to the local market, buy all this rice, oil, and lentils, it's going to cost you roughly 3,200 taka.
Okay.
I will supply that exact high-quality list of goods to you, packed in a single mega box for exactly 3,000 taka.
So his opening move is a direct financial incentive. He is offering a 200 taka savings right off the top.
But the savings aren't even the best part. He adds, by taking my mega box, you don't have to trek through the mud, you don't have to deal with the crowds at the bazaar, and you don't have to haul heavy sacks of rice back to your house. I will deliver the box directly to your door, completely free of charge.
Financial savings combined with massive physical convenience. For a family receiving remittance money, this is an irresistible value proposition.
But here is the ironclad rule that protects his business. The non-negotiable term of the subscription. Direct, upfront cash deal on the first of the month upon delivery. Absolutely no credit, no baki.
And because it is a structured subscription delivery, the social dynamics of asking for credit change completely.
Right, it feels different.
It feels like a formal contract. A relative might feel completely comfortable walking into your shop and casually grabbing a kilo of onions on credit, but they feel much more hesitant to ask for a massive pre-packaged 3,000 taka monthly bulk delivery for free. The structure of the offer acts as a shield against the negative peer pressure.
Let's look at the economics of this mega box. He sells it to the family for 3,000 taka. But because he is buying these staples at bulk wholesale prices from the city, his actual cost for those goods is only 2,700 taka.
Leaving him a solid profit of 300 taka per box.
And the logistics are perfectly optimized. Because he controls the delivery schedule, say, the first weekend of the month, he batches the orders, he loads 10 to 15 boxes onto a local van at once. So his transport cost per box is essentially zero.
I want to evaluate exactly why this subscription model generates such superior profit margins compared to traditional rural retail, because it's vital for understanding this shift from manual labor to mental strategy.
Okay, let's break it down.
First, he has entirely eliminated overhead. He is not paying rent for a shop. He doesn't have a utility bill for keeping lights on.
He operates out of his own home?
Second, he has perfectly optimized his inventory, which is the silent killer of retail.
Oh, for sure.
A traditional shopkeeper buys a wide variety of goods, puts them on a shelf, and hopes someone walks in to buy them. Their limited capital gets tied up in dust-gathering dead stock. Hasidul carries zero dead stock.
Because he already sold it.
Right. He only buys exactly what he has already pre-sold through his subscriptions. His capital is never idle.
That is huge. He never has unsold inventory sitting around depreciating.
Exactly. But the most significant factor, by far, is the absolute eradication of bad debt. In traditional rural retail, a massive percentage of potential profit is completely lost to unpaid credit ledgers.
Yeah, the uncle who never pays.
The shopkeeper might look profitable on paper, but the money is all trapped in uncollected debts. By moving to a cash-only subscription, Hasadul ensures that his expected revenue equals his actual in-the-bank revenue.
It's so true. The data points out a really funny but very real contrast. The traditional shopkeepers in the village market are constantly stressed, needing blood pressure medication because they are up at night worrying about all the money their neighbors owe them.
It's a nightmare.
Meanwhile, Hasadul sleeps peacefully. His money is in his pocket. And scaling this is simple math. By supplying just 50 affluent families in his broader area with this monthly megabox, he pulls in a net profit of 15,000 taka a month.
And again, what is his capital requirement?
He's using the same rotating pool of 15,000 to 20,000 taka to fund the wholesale purchases before delivering them.
He has created a second, highly efficient zero-debt cash flow engine. He has successfully insulated his capital from the toxic elements of the local economy while extracting maximum value from the affluent segments.
So let's pause and look at where he is. He has the virtual poultry network generating 16,000 taka. He has the zero credit cash box generating 15,000 taka. He is now making over 30,000 taka a month in pure profit.
Which is fantastic.
That is double what he would have made doing the soul-crushing factory slavery in Dhaka. And how much of his time is he actually spending?
Very little, right. He visits the egg suppliers twice a week. He manages the grocery deliveries maybe a few days a month, highly batched.
Yeah.
He maintains total freedom of his time. He is not tied to a sewing machine or a desk for 12 hours a day.
Which gives him the time to observe his environment. Which brings us to the third business model. We can call this local traffic hacking. This is how you build a localized media empire out of thin air.
This is the critical transition from active logistics businesses, where he still has to physically move eggs and groceries, to building a pure passive income asset.
Hasadul is sitting with his steady cash flow, and he starts analyzing the village for an under-monetized asset. He looks at the most crowded place in the entire village, the local tea stall at the bazaar.
Okay, yeah.
Every single evening, hundreds of people gather there. It is the absolute social hub of rural life. Men gather to argue about politics, talk about the harvest, watch videos on their phones, and just hang out.
The traffic is massive, but the monetization is incredibly weak.
Right. The owner of the tea stall is serving hundreds of people, but he is making pennies. He is selling a cup of tea for 5 taka and a dry biscuit for 2 taka. It's a high-volume, incredibly low-margin reality.
But Hasadul doesn't look at the tea stall and see a place to sell tea. He applies the exact same logic that a Silicon Valley tech giant uses when looking at a social media platform.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
He sees an attention economy. He sees hundreds of captive eyeballs. He sees unmonetized traffic.
So here's the setup. Hasadul takes 8,000 to 10,000 taka out of his egg and grocery profits. He goes online, or to the city, and buys a smart Android projector, a small portable one that can run off a mobile phone hotspot.
Okay.
He approaches the owner of the tea stall with a proposal. He says, "Uncle, I want to hang a large white clock on the blank wall of your shop. I am going to set up a massive 100-inch screen, and every evening I will project live sports, cricket matches, and movies. It's going to turn your tea stall into a mini stadium."
From the stall owner's perspective, this is a windfall.
It's the greatest deal ever. The stall owner is thrilled because suddenly his shop is the hottest entertainment venue in the district. The crowd doubles in size, people stay for hours to watch the cricket match, and his tea and biscuit sales skyrocket.
And it costs him nothing.
It costs the owner nothing, and he reaps the retail benefits. He happily agrees.
But the key here is ownership. Hasadul retains total control of the projector and the screen. He has effectively created a localized media platform. He owns the screen, and he controls the content that this massive captive audience is watching.
But he isn't charging the villagers an admission fee to watch the cricket match. How does he monetize this attention?
B2B advertising sales. Business to business.
Hasadul targets the big money in the rural area. He approaches the large, established local businesses, the massive fertilizer and pesticide dealers, the cement and steel rod merchants, the local pharmacies, the diagnostic centers.
Now, I want to scrutinize the mechanics of this because this is where the execution is just brilliant.
Yeah, let's get into it.
How does a 20-something kid convince a hardened, wealthy cement dealer to pay for an ad on a bid sheet in a tea stall? B2B sales in a rural environment require overcoming immense friction.
Right. The cement dealer is sitting in his shop. He's rich. He's busy. He doesn't understand digital marketing. Hasadul doesn't walk in and use tech jargon. He doesn't talk about impressions or click-through rates. He sells local dominance and prestige.
He contextualizes the value perfectly.
Hasadul goes to the dealer and says, look, every single evening, 200 to 300 men, the heads of households, the farmers, the decision makers who actually buy your cement and your fertilizer, are sitting in that tea stall for 3 hours staring at my 100-inch screen.
He sets the scene.
Right now, during the breaks in the cricket match, the screen is blank. For just 500 taka a month, I will project your shop's banner, your face, and your special offers onto that massive screen during every single break. The entire village will memorize your brand. When they need fertilizer tomorrow morning, they will only think of you.
It's a brilliant pitch because 500 taka to a major cement dealer is nothing. It's a rounding error.
Yeah.
But the ego boost of having their business projected on a 100-inch screen in front of the whole village is incredibly compelling. He's monetizing their desire for local status just as much as their need for advertising.
So let's break down this passive income asset. He secures 10 local businesses to sign up for this advertising package. 10 businesses paying 500 taka each equals 5,000 taka in pure monthly income.
Let's analyze the return on investment here. His initial capital expenditure was, at most, 10,000 taka for the projector.
Right.
With 5,000 taka a month in ad revenue, he completely recoups his initial capital in exactly 2 months.
2 months to break even, and after that...
After month 2, that 5,000 taka is 100% pure profit. And consider the mechanics of the labor involved. Hasadul is not brewing the tea.
No.
He is not washing the cups. He pays no rent for the commercial space. He has zero inventory to manage. He simply shows up, turns on the projector, connects it to his phone's hotspot to stream the sports, and cycles through a USB drive of JPEG images of local ads during the commercial breaks.
It's practically hands-free.
He successfully leveraged someone else's physical real estate and someone else's customer base to build his own cash-flowing asset.
He hijacked the local traffic. It is absolute genius. He turned community attention into a sustainable passive income stream. And when you pull back and look at the synthesis of this entire strategy, you see a masterclass in zero-debt sequential growth.
This is the most vital lesson for anyone trying to replicate this. Hasadul did not launch all 3 of these businesses on day 1.
No. Trace that exact roadmap for the listener. Because the knee-jerk reaction for someone with a rested brain is, well, I need 50,000 taka to launch an egg business, a grocery subscription, and an ad network.
The roadmap is entirely sequential and bootstrapped.
Yeah.
Phase 1. He started with just the 15,000 taka. He used it solely for the virtual poultry network.
Okay.
He proved the concept, optimized the packaging, and established the buyer trust in the Upazila town. He rotated that initial capital weekly, generating cash flow.
Then phase 2, he didn't take out a loan to start the groceries.
Exactly. He took the profits from the eggs, not his principal, just the newly generated profits, and used that to fund the initial wholesale purchases for the zero credit cash box.
Yeah.
He used business 1 to fund business 2.
And then phase 3.
Once both the egg logistics and the grocery subscriptions were generating a combined steady cash flow, he took a fraction of that monthly profit, just 10,000 taka, to buy the projector and launched the local traffic hacking model.
This is the definitive blueprint.
It is the blueprint for scaling micro-businesses into larger regional operations without ever taking on a single penny of toxic debt. You start small, you prove the localized concept, you capture the cash flow, and you relentlessly reinvest into solving the next friction point.
If you are a student right now, maybe sitting in a rural town or even a suburb, looking at a small savings account of 15,000 taka, wondering how to avoid a soul-crushing corporate entry-level job, we can literally map out your first 30 days based on this data.
It requires a complete recalibration of how you observe your surroundings.
Right. Week 1. Stop looking at what businesses currently exist and start looking for the friction. Identify an arbitrage opportunity. Where is a local product currently being sold cheaply to middlemen?
And then week 2.
Find your premium buyer. Who has disposable income and values convenience or authenticity? Figure out the simple packaging value you can add, like the paper carton, to bridge that gap.
And by week 3, you test the market with a micro batch. You don't buy 1,000 eggs, you buy 50. You prove that the premium buyer will hand over cash.
And as you move into the next 30 days, you look for the behavioral friction points in daily life. Look at the stress of grocery shopping or the toxicity of informal credit systems in your community. Design a subscription solution that targets the top 10% of earners in your area who will gladly pay to have that friction removed.
What is truly remarkable about Hossadul's journey is how he treated every localized problem not as a barrier, but as an asset to be optimized.
Yeah, that mindset shift.
The muddy roads and broken eggs. That problem forced him to find premium packaging, which ultimately unlocked his premium pricing power.
Right.
The social toxicity of Baki at the grocery store. That problem forced him to pivot into a subscription model, which locked in recurring revenue and eliminated dead stock. The idle, unmonetized crowd at the tea stall. That problem revealed an entire attention economy waiting to be tapped.
Every single obstacle was just a pivot point to a higher margin strategy. When you combine all three of these models, Hassadul, a young man who was told by society that he was useless, that he was doomed without inherited wealth, and that his only option was to go be a factory slave in Dhaka, is now making a solid 70,000 to 80,000 pataka in net profit every single month.
And it definitively proves why shifting from manual labor to mental strategy creates exponentially faster wealth growth. Physical labor scales linearly. A traditional farmer can only shovel so much waste. He is fundamentally capped by the hours in a day and the strength of his back.
But strategy scales differently.
But strategy, logistics, brand building, and passive assets, they scale asymmetrically. Hassadul's income is completely decoupled from his physical exertion.
This brings us to the core message of the materials we've analyzed today. The final warning from the data is incredibly sharp, almost harsh. It states that the village, or really any seemingly stagnant local economy, is not a place for the backdated.
It is a place of massive outsized opportunity precisely because the vast majority of people operating there are not using strategic thinking. They are trapped in the copycat mentality.
They are busy trying to dig for gold with spoons.
Exactly, taking on massive loans to do things a hard way.
The ultimate lesson here is that until you learn to look at your environment and turn other people's problems, inefficiencies, and frictions into your assets, your income will remain constrained.
It's true.
You have to stop wasting your time and your mobile data sitting in the tea stall watching videos of other people succeeding in Dubai. You have to start looking at the invisible economy right outside your front door.
The diagnostic landscape we discussed earlier. The reason it seems murky to so many people is because they fundamentally misdiagnose the disease. They look at a struggling rural economy and think the problem is a lack of capital. Hassadul proved that the real disease is a lack of localized strategy. Capital is just the fuel. Strategy is the engine.
Which leads me to a final provocative thought for you to ponder as we wrap this up.
Okay, look here.
The data and the story we unpack today focus heavily on applying these principles in a specific rural village setting in South Asia. But the underlying mechanics, the principles of risk-free arbitrage, utilizing subscription models to kill bad debt, and hacking localized attention for B2B monetization, these are universally applicable laws of microeconomics.
Oh, absolutely.
So I want you to look at your own immediate environment right now. Maybe you live in a sprawling suburban neighborhood, maybe you work on the 14th floor of a giant corporate office building, or maybe you are walking across a massive, crowded university campus.
The inefficiencies exist everywhere, just waiting for someone to package a solution.
So ask yourself, what is the tea stall in your life? Where is there a physical or digital place in your immediate network where attention is gathered in massive quantities, but it is entirely unmonetized? What is the equivalent of the local eggs, a raw commodity near you that you could easily package with trust and convenience and sell to a premium buyer in your network for a massive margin?
Those are great questions.
And perhaps most importantly, what is your version of the 15,000 taka factory slavery? What is that default, soul-crushing, socially acceptable path that everyone expects you to take? The path you need to find the mental fortitude to walk away from so you can finally begin building your own cash-flowing asset? Because the moment you manage to clear out that rusted brain, you might realize the gold mine has been in your own backyard this entire time. You know, usually when we talk about, like, a medical diagnosis, there's this underlying expectation of absolute precision.
Right, yeah, like it's a science.
Exactly. It operates almost like structural engineering. You break your arm, you go into the clinic, the x-ray shows that that jagged, glowing white line on the screen, and the doctor just points at it with a pen and says, well, right there, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's incredibly binary.
Yeah.
It's either broken or it's not broken. It's a clean, indisputable fact.
Right. But then you shift gears, you look at the world of starting a business, especially for someone stepping into entrepreneurship for the first time, and suddenly that metaphorical X-ray machine is just, well, it's completely shattered.
Oh, absolutely. We are looking at a landscape that is profoundly murky.
Right, because people have these incredibly vivid, almost cinematic hallucinations of what a successful business is supposed to look like. And the tragedy is they're almost always staring at the entirely wrong vital signs.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. I mean, the metrics people use to judge a good business idea from the outside, they're completely inverted for the metrics that actually guarantee survival on the inside.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, today we're going to completely dismantle and rebuild your perspective on what actually makes a successful venture.
We're taking a hard, analytical look at a stack of insights regarding what we're going to categorize as boring businesses. And I mean boring with a capital B.
Right. We're talking about the kinds of ventures you have probably never heard of, or if you have, you just actively ignored them.
Yeah, they do not go viral. Their founders are not choreographing like flashy dances on social media. There's zero prestige attached to them at a dinner party.
But beneath the surface, they consistently generate massive, reliable wealth while their owners literally sleep.
So I want to challenge you, the listener, right out of the gate. When you imagine starting a business today, what is the image that instantly pops into your mind's eye?
Is it a trendy, minimalist cafe with exposed brick? Or maybe a direct-to-consumer athletic wear brand?
Or one of those highly optimized, heavily branded cloud kitchens? Oh, without a doubt, it's usually a cafe with a neon sign that says, like, good vibes only.
Yeah, totally. With a $50 bag of single-origin coffee beans and, avocado toast on a distressed wooden board.
Exactly. But aiming for those glamorous, high-competition spaces is almost always a catastrophic trap, especially if you are bootstrapping your first entrepreneurial journey.
The failure rates are just staggering, and the margins are razor thin. So to truly grasp why this happens, we need to examine a specific case study from our sources.
Right. We'll call it the parable of Karan and Mahesh.
I love this one. This specific comparison perfectly highlights the devastating gap between the illusion of business and the actual mathematical reality of it.
So let's examine Karan first. Karan decides he is going to be an entrepreneur. He's managed to secure a starting capital of 1.5 million rupees, that's 15 lakh.
Okay, so 15 lakh. And his entire operational philosophy, whether he actually realizes it or not, is totally dictated by optics.
Right.
He's optimizing for a business that makes his peers say, wow, you are doing incredible things.
Which means his capital allocation is instantly skewed. Karan goes all in on a premium cafe. And when I say all in, I mean he is bleeding cash on vanity metrics before he ever serves a single customer.
Oh, yeah. He hires a boutique interior designer to curate the vibe.
He drops hundreds of thousands of rupees on a gleaming imported Italian espresso machine just because it looks amazing on the counter.
Right. He installs custom ambient lighting, bespoke furniture, and naturally the mandatory Instagram wall covered in artificial ivy and neon.
He is treating the business like a theater production, right?
Huh.
And the opening day is his big premiere.
And initially, the validation loop feeds his ego perfectly. I mean, it looks like a massive triumph.
Yeah, there's a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The place is absolutely packed with friends and family. Viral reels are being filmed, tagging the location.
Everyone in his social circle is deeply impressed, which validates his identity as a successful founder.
But the X-ray is broken. We are looking at the applause, not the cash flow. So let's pivot to Mahesh.
Right. Mahesh has the exact same starting capital, 1.5 million rupees, 15 lakh, no more, no less.
But Mahesh is operating on a fundamentally different frequency. He opens a business so profoundly boring, so devoid of aesthetic appeal, that his friends probably express pity rather than envy.
Yeah, there's no ribbon cutting, there's no aesthetic grid on social media, no grand opening ceremony with balloons.
What Mahesh builds is virtually invisible to the public eye. He takes a tiny fraction of his capital and rents a small, windowless, unglamorous office in a cheap commercial park.
Right. He hires 3 reliable employees. He spends his days quietly dialing the phone, sending cold emails, and securing a handful of corporate service contracts.
So if we fast forward exactly 3 years, the reality of their architectural choices finally sets in.
And it's a stark contrast. Karen is physically trapped behind the counter of his cafe. He's perpetually exhausted.
He's staring out the front window every single morning, desperately praying for the weather to be good, praying for foot traffic.
Because if 200 people don't walk through that door today, he cannot cover his immense lease, his staff payroll, and the loan payments on that imported espresso machine.
He has built a machine that requires his constant, daily, agonizing input just to stay at zero.
Meanwhile, Mahesh is on a 2-week holiday in Goa, or maybe Manali, fully present with his family.
He wakes up at 9 a.m., checks his phone over breakfast, and sees a batch of payment received notifications from his corporate clients.
He just locks his screen, puts the phone in his pocket, and goes right back to enjoying his day.
The core divergence here is what we really need to obsess over for the next hour or so. It wasn't a discrepancy in funding. They both had 15 lakh.
Right, and it wasn't that Mahesh was inherently more charismatic or had a higher IQ than Karan.
The divergence was purely structural. Karan architected a business model that forced him to hunt for new customers every single day. If he doesn't hunt, he doesn't eat.
But Mahesh architected a system. He built a mechanism where customers agreed to pay automatically on the first of every single month for a service they simply could not function without.
It's the brutal difference between running on a treadmill and riding an escalator.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. On the treadmill, you sprint to the point of exhaustion, but the second you stop moving your legs, you're thrown off the back.
But on the escalator, you do the hard work of stepping on, but then the machinery itself carries you upward.
And that contrast dictates our entire agenda today. We are going to aggressively tear down the exact models Mahesh couldn't have deployed.
We're examining 8 incredibly unglamorous, remarkably low competition businesses.
And will culminate in the absolute golden rule, like a razor-sharp heuristic, that you can use to evaluate the viability of any business idea in under 30 seconds.
So let's immediately step away from the fragile, aesthetic-driven world of consumer retail. We are leaving Khan's Cafe behind.
We're entering the reality of solving urgent, unsexy operational problems for other businesses.
Yes, moving into the domain of B2B business-to-business service reliability.
Which brings us to the first model from our research stack, the commercial cleaning company.
Now, let's look at the sheer scale of this. Every single day, gigantic IT parks, sprawling hospital complexes, 5-star hotel properties, multi-story schools, and massive e-commerce fulfillment warehouses, well, they all have to be cleaned.
It's not optional.
Exactly. The nature of that specific demand is what makes the economics so compelling. It's a daily, non-negotiable operational requirement. It's an absolute necessity.
Right, like if a massive tech company faces a severe budget crunch, what do?
They cancel the lavish annual retreat.
Huh.
They pause the hardware refresh cycle for employee laptops. They might even freeze hiring.
But they absolutely cannot stop scrubbing the bathrooms or sanitizing the cafeteria floors.
Right. This inherent necessity makes commercial cleaning remarkably resilient against macroeconomic downturns.
Okay, I hear the logic, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
I am putting myself in the shoes of a listener who wants to escape the corporate grind to achieve financial independence and autonomy. Why on earth would I want to trade my laptop for a mop and a bucket at 6 a.m.?
Yeah, like that.
That just sounds like I'm buying myself a grueling minimum wage job, not building a liberating business asset.
And that visceral reaction,
Doubt.
that exact stigma you just articulated, is precisely the moat that keeps the competition low and the profits high.
Riley, the stigma is the moat.
Absolutely. It is the #1 misconception that stops smart beginners from capturing massive market share in this space.
Huh.
You have to clearly separate the function of the business from the function of the owner.
Okay.
If you launch a commercial cleaning enterprise, your daily operational job is absolutely not cleaning.
So I am never actually pushing the broom.
Never, unless it is the very first week and you are bootstrapping with zero capital just to learn the standard operating procedure.
Right.
Your job is system architecture. You are the conductor, not the musician. Your mandate is to design the operational checklists, to prospect and negotiate with corporate facility managers, to secure the commercial contracts, and to enforce a rigorous standard of quality assurance.
So the staff you recruit and train execute the actual physical labor.
Exactly. Because the real product you are selling to a B2B client is not actually a clean floor.
Then what exactly am I selling when I sit across the table from a facility manager?
You are selling the complete absence of a headache.
Ah, I like that.
Think about it. The facility manager at a massive IT park is juggling HVAC failures, security protocols, and fire safety compliance. They are exhausted.
Right, they have a million things going wrong every day.
So they are paying for reliability. They want to walk into their massive glass building at 8 a.m. and know, without having to expend a single calorie of mental energy, that the entire environment is pristine.
In the B2B service ecosystem, operational reliability is just the most expensive and highly sought-after commodity in existence.
Yes. So if you can empirically prove that you are a vendor who never drops the ball, who never makes excuses about a staff member calling in sick, they will gladly authorize a massive monthly check simply to delete that worry from their brain.
And that introduces the real superpower of the B2B model, right? The contract.
Oh, the contract is everything.
Our sources emphasize how securing a structured 2-year agreement with, say, a mid-sized regional hospital fundamentally alters your financial reality.
It entirely eradicates that desperate daily scramble for one-off sales that is currently destroying Corinne's mental health in this cafe. Your baseline revenue for the next 24 months is mathematically locked in.
So this is the perfect arena to deploy a low-risk, highly structured entry strategy, particularly for someone with very little starting capital.
Absolutely. In fact, the research outlined a highly practical 6-month roadmap for bootstrapping a service business like this without taking on a single rupee of crippling debt.
We definitely need to break down the mechanics of that roadmap, just demystifying it for someone starting from absolute scratch.
I'm extremely eager to dissect this. Let's say I have zero funding, but I have a laptop and a phone. Month 1. What is my exact objective?
Okay. Month 1 is entirely focused on reconnaissance and positioning. You do not go to a bank for a loan. You do not sign a lease for a corporate office.
No branded vans yet.
No branded vans. You simply establish a professional digital footprint, so a clean domain name, and a professional email address. But the critical step is defining your hyper-specific niche. You do not market yourself as a general cleaner.
Right, because then I'm just competing on price with 1,000 other generic cleaners.
Exactly. You become the absolute specialist. You position yourself as the sterile environment cleaning protocol for independent dental surgeries, or the rapid turnaround post-construction cleanup crew for boutique builders.
I see.
You build a simple, highly targeted one-page website speaking directly to the unique pain points of that specific niche. Total capital expenditure, maybe a couple of thousand rupees for hosting and a domain.
Okay, so the digital storefront is live. I know exactly who I am targeting. What happens in month 2?
Month 2 is direct, unscalable hustle to secure the foundational client. You are absolutely not burning cash on broad Facebook ads or Google AdWords.
You're hitting the pavement.
Yeah, you are putting on professional attire, physically walking into those local dental clinics or construction sites, and politely demanding to speak with the office manager or site foreman.
But wait, if I walk into a thriving dental clinic, they already have someone cleaning their office. Why would they even take my meeting, let alone fire their current cleaner for a rookie with no portfolio?
That is the exact hurdle you must anticipate. You don't ask them to fire anyone. You leverage their existing dissatisfaction.
How so?
You say, I know you currently have a service, but I also know that in this industry, the attention to detail usually drops off after month 3. You probably have dust accumulating on the high surgical lights, or the waiting room baseboards are being ignored. You hit the specific pain points.
Oh, that's smart. You point out what the other guy is missing.
Right. Then you offer an irresistible pilot program. You say, let my team come in this Saturday and perform a deep sterilization of your clinic at a 50% discount. If it is the best result you have ever seen, we sit down and discuss a 6-month agreement. If you aren't blown away, we shake hands, you got a cheap deep clean, and we part as friends.
Wow. You completely remove the risk from their balance sheet.
Exactly.
Okay, so I execute the pilot. They're amazed. And I secure that first monthly contract. I've got cash coming in. What is month 3?
Month 3 is obsessive fulfillment. Now, because you are committed to the zero debt model, this is where you might actually have to execute the labor yourself, or more strategically, you hire a highly experienced contractor on a day rate, funding their pay directly from the upfront deposit the client just transferred to you.
Ah, so using their money to pay the contractor.
Yes, you do not take a profit this month. You reinvest the margin into ensuring the quality is utterly flawless. You make sure the clinic isn't just clean, it is visibly gleaming. You over-deliver on that promise to completely eliminate their headache.
So you're basically building the case study.
Yes.
Moving into month 4 and 5, how do we escape doing the labor?
Systematization and replication. You take the glowing testimonial from client 1 and you use it as leverage to immediately close client 2 and client 3.
Right.
Suddenly, your monthly cash flow is substantial enough to formally hire dedicated part-time W-2 staff. But more importantly, you document everything.
The standard operating procedures.
Exactly. You create a rigid checklist that details exactly which chemicals to use on which surfaces in what exact order. Your new staff doesn't have to guess, they just execute the algorithm you wrote. You firmly step back from the mop and step permanently into the role of operations manager.
And arriving at month 6.
By month 6, if you execute this aggressively, you possess 3 to 5 recurring, highly profitable commercial contracts. Your trained staff is reliably executing the daily physical work. You have engineered a cash-flowing, debt-free enterprise that generates predictable monthly revenue.
I mean, compare the sheer financial safety of that position against Karan, who took out a 15 lakh high-interest loan to build a beautiful cafe, blindly hoping people decide they want a latte on his opening day.
It is a phenomenal masterclass in utilizing low capital for high leverage. And that mechanism transitions us flawlessly into the next model, which operates on that exact same B2B frequency.
But it takes the volume knob on customer urgency and just cranks it until it breaks off.
Yes. Let's look at the pest control company.
Okay, let's contextualize this with a very specific scenario from the research data. It's 10:03 p.m. on a Friday night. A highly successful, packed restaurant is in the middle of its dinner rush.
High stress already.
Exactly. The owner receives a frantic, hushed phone call from the head chef in the kitchen. A massive rodent, or maybe a swarm of cockroaches, has just been spotted scurrying directly across the food prep station.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
And to elevate the panic, a municipal food safety inspector is scheduled for a randomized audit at 8 a.m. the following morning.
That is an existential crisis for the business owner. I mean, the potential financial loss in that moment isn't just a slow day of sales, it is catastrophic.
Right. They could be forcefully shut down by the city, their operating license could be suspended.
If a customer snaps a photo and puts it on social media, their hard-earned reputation is incinerated overnight.
Exactly. The stakes are absolute. Now, when that terrified restaurant owner frantically Googles an emergency pest control company at 10:45 p.m. and you answer the phone, do you think they are going to demand a price breakdown and haggle over a 15% discount?
Not a chance in hell. They aren't going to say, your competitor across town quoted me slightly less. Can you price match?
No, they're going to say, how many minutes until your truck pulls up to my back door, and do you take American Express?
The psychology of pricing an emergency is just fascinating. When urgency reaches peak levels, the customer entirely abandons the bargaining process. They simply purchase the immediate cessation of their panic.
And as urban housing density continues to explode, and as commercial food logistics expand rapidly, the baseline demand for this kind of immediate, critical intervention is skyrocketing.
But the beauty of this model isn't just the high-margin emergency strike, is it? Because biology dictates that pests are relentlessly stubborn. You kill the ones in the kitchen today, but there's a nest in the alleyway, they are going to try to come back.
And that biological reality is the secret engine of the business model. The intervention must be repeated.
Right.
You arrive at midnight, you deploy the emergency countermeasures, you save their license, and the next morning you sit down with the exhausted owner and say, we solved the immediate crisis. But to guarantee this never happens again, to ensure your license is never in jeopardy, you need to sign up for our quarterly preventative perimeter treatment.
Wow. You just converted a one-off panic purchase into a multi-year built-in recurring revenue loop, an annual maintenance contract, or AMC.
Exactly. And the customer acquisition cost, the SCAF for the next client, drops to zero because of the network effect. If you pull a restaurant owner back from the brink of destruction, they don't just quietly pay the invoice. They go to their Regional Restaurant Owners Association meeting next month, and when someone complains about the city inspectors, they say, listen to me, you have to hire my guy. He saved my business.
In the B2B service sector, organic referrals are the ultimate, most efficient growth hack in existence.
This dynamic definitively proves why obsessing over stellar, reliable service delivery is infinitely more profitable than dumping your margins into flashy digital marketing campaigns.
Right, a profoundly relieved client transforms into a silent, highly credible salesman who can hand-deliver 10 more high-ticket clients to your doorstep.
And this is exactly why operational reliability naturally, magnetically attracts high-paying corporate clients, while social media vanity metrics only attract fleeting consumer attention.
A commercial enterprise demands a deeply trusted partner, not a trendy vendor with a viral TikTok presence.
Okay, so this is a distinct theme. We've heavily analyzed services that deploy human labor to solve acute facility problems. Cleaning floors, eradicating pests. Let's pivot our lens a bit.
I want to explore businesses that act as the invisible structural backbone of the broader economy. The critical underlying infrastructure that permits other, much more famous and glamorous businesses to simply operate on a daily basis.
That brings us squarely to the commercial logistics space, specifically the commercial laundry business.
When I dug into the unit economics of this in our sources, it fundamentally altered how I view the hospitality industry.
Right, it's huge.
Just visualize a massive 500-room, five-star hotel property, or a sprawling multi-wing city hospital, or even a premium high-volume fitness club.
Yeah.
Every single day, as a byproduct of simply keeping their doors open, they are generating thousands upon thousands of pounds of soiled bed sheets, damp towels, blood-stained surgical scrubs, and sweat-soaked uniforms.
It is a relentless daily avalanche of textiles.
It is quite literally the plumbing of the hospitality and medical industries. Nobody ever actively thinks about it. When you pay for a premium hotel room, you just assume the sheets will be incredibly crisp and white.
But if that back-end laundry logistical chain suffers a bottleneck, the entire multi-million-dollar building physically has to cease operations.
It is pure mission-critical infrastructure. Consider the tangible financial stakes involved. If a luxury hotel's fresh linens are not sterilized, pressed, and delivered back to the housekeeping department by 2 p.m., they physically cannot clear the rooms for the new guest checking in at 3 p.m.
They have to refund massive room rates. They hemorrhage revenue instantly.
Right. And if a regional hospital's specialized linens and surgical scrubs aren't perfectly sterilized and ready in the staging area, critical life-saving surgeries have to be postponed. The operational stakes are just astronomical.
So an analytical beginner looking at this might ask a very logical question. If the laundry process is so undeniably critical to their survival, why don't these massive corporate entities just handle it internally?
Right. They clearly have the physical square footage in the basement, and they have the capital. Why outsource something so vital?
And that question cuts to the absolute core of the psychology of outsourcing, which is a mental model every aspiring B2B entrepreneur must master. Why don't they do it in-house? Because managing a high-volume industrial laundry facility is a massive, incredibly complex operational nightmare that distracts the executive team from their actual core competency.
The general manager of a hotel wants to focus on maximizing occupancy rates and guest experience, not troubleshooting a broken water pump at 3 a.m.
Exactly. To bring that operation in-house, the hotel's balance sheet has to absorb millions of rupees in capital expenditure capex just to purchase highly specialized commercial-grade washer extractors and flatwork ironers.
Not to mention the maintenance.
Right. Then they have to fund the continuous expensive maintenance contracts for those machines. They have to manage the staggering spikes in municipal water and electricity consumption.
And the staffing.
Yes, they have to deal with the HR nightmare of hiring, training, and managing a dedicated, often unionized basement laundry staff working terrible hours. For a hotel ownership group, every single one of those factors is massive operational friction. It is dangerous distraction.
So the commercial laundry entrepreneur steps into the room and offers a very simple value proposition. I will absorb 100% of that friction. You put the dirty carts on the loading dock at midnight, pristine folded carts arrive at noon, you never think about it again.
And business owners will aggressively authorize a premium price to make a logistical nightmare simply vanish from their daily agenda.
Then returning to our core thesis, we immediately see the stabilizing power of the recurring contract. If you build a hub-and-spoke laundry facility and secure annual binding retainer contracts with just 15 or 20 regional hotels, your entire baseline revenue for the fiscal year is mathematically secured before you even wake up on January 1st.
Which is the absolute polar opposite of Corin, unlocking the front door of his cafe every single morning, staring at the street, wondering if the weather's too rainy for people to want to come buy a pastry.
But let's pause and address a crucial nuance here. Let's compare the capital requirements for these specific service businesses versus the high-investment physical product ventures like Karen's Cafe or a traditional retail storefront.
Good point.
Because a listener might point out that industrial washing machines are incredibly expensive. That's exactly what I was thinking. Doesn't the massive cost of commercial laundry equipment contradict our whole low-risk, low-capital thesis?
I see where you're going.
If I have 15 lakh, Karan spends it on his cafe. If I spend it on industrial washing machines, haven't I just taken the exact same financial risk?
It's a brilliant question, but the financial architecture is totally different. When Kron opens a cafe, his capital is immediately incinerated into depreciating, non-transferable aesthetic.
Ah, the decorations.
Yeah, he is sinking hundreds of thousands of rupees into boutique interior design, custom lighting fixtures, and bespoke furniture that is permanently bolted to the floor.
Yeah.
Before he has generated a single rupee of revenue, his bank account is deeply depleted.
Right.
And crucially, if the cafe goes bankrupt in 8 months, those physical aesthetic assets have virtually zero liquidation value on the secondary market.
You can't unpaint a wall, and nobody wants to buy a neon sign that says Karen's Coffee. It's sunk cost.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with the service sector. A commercial cleaning or pest control company requires virtually zero upfront capital. The investment is purely in your time and the creation of standard operating procedures.
What about the laundry machines, though?
Even when a BB service requires heavy equipment like the commercial laundry, you aren't funding it with out-of-pocket cash. You utilized equipment financing. You are acquiring cash-flowing utilitarian assets that hold inherent resale value.
Ah, I see.
The machines directly correlate to the fulfillment of a contract. You are investing in the engine of a revenue system, not the static aesthetics of a storefront. The structural barrier to reaching profitability is significantly lower and drastically faster.
That distinction between sinking money into aesthetics versus acquiring cash-flowing assets is a perfect bridge to the next model. This one is a fascinating hybrid.
It really is.
It is entirely about acquiring expensive physical assets, but leveraging them in a structurally brilliant way. Let's examine the equipment and tool rental business.
This represents a distinct evolution in our strategic thinking. We are moving away from managing intense human labor like the cleaning staff and shifting our focus entirely to the strategic deployment and utilization of hard assets.
Okay.
Let's utilize a very specific case study from the research material. Visualize a mid-sized commercial construction firm. They are pouring the foundation for a new retail complex, and their structural engineers dictate that they need a highly specialized, heavy-duty industrial concrete cutter for exactly 10 days of operation.
Okay, so the construction project manager is looking at the procurement budget. They have a binary choice. Option A. They can authorize a purchase order and buy this incredibly specialized machine outright. Let's assume the sticker price is 3 lakhs, about 300,000 rupees.
Right.
Or, option B, they can call an equipment rental yard and lease that exact same machine for those specific 10 days for, let's say, 8,000 rupees.
From the perspective of corporate finance, the decision doesn't even require a second thought. They will absolutely rent it.
Every time.
And this dynamic flawlessly illustrates one of the most powerful golden rules of the modern global economy, a concept that has completely redefined how massive corporations operate. Businesses possess a profound overriding preference to pay for access rather than taking on the immense burden of ownership.
Oh, that is the exact underlying psychology that fueled the entire subscription economy boom, isn't it?
It is the exact same DNA. If we abstract this concept, this is the identical underlying logic that allowed companies like Uber, Spotify, or massive enterprise software firms to dominate.
Why assume the massive depreciating cost of purchasing a fleet of corporate vehicles when you can access transportation on demand?
Exactly. Why purchase individual software licenses for 1,000 employees when you can rent cloud access by the month?
Access over ownership. Because a highly intelligent construction contractor inherently understands that the mere act of owning a concrete cutter on their balance sheet doesn't generate profit. It is the successful completion of the concrete pouring phase that triggers the next massive payment from the real estate developer.
The machine is nothing more than a temporary, necessary tool to achieve that milestone.
Why would they permanently trap 3 lakhs of precious working capital into a piece of steel that they will use intensely for a week and then stick in a dusty warehouse to rust and require maintenance for the next 2 years?
They won't. And for the strategic entrepreneur who owns that rental yard, the cash flow mechanics are nothing short of phenomenal.
Let's break that down.
Let's meticulously map out the financial life cycle and utilization rate of this specific asset. You, the rental business owner, purchase the concrete cutter for 3 lakhs. That's your initial capex.
Okay.
You rent it out to builder A for 10 days. Then you retrieve it, inspect it, and rent it to builder B for a 3-week project. Then builder C needs it for a weekend job.
If the utilization rate is high enough, within a relatively short window, maybe 6 to 8 months, The cumulative rental fees you have collected will have entirely eclipsed your initial 3 lakh investment.
Yep.
The machine has literally generated enough cash to pay for its own existence.
And that moment is the critical inflection point of the business model. After you cross that break-even threshold, every single subsequent rental agreement you sign for that piece of equipment is virtually pure, unadulterated profit, subtracting only the marginal cost of basic maintenance and storage.
That's incredible.
This structural reality is precisely why asset rental models, whether it is heavy construction machinery, specialized film camera lenses, or high-end medical equipment, are universally recognized by financial analysts as some of the most underrated, ruthlessly efficient cash flow generators in the global market.
You fund the acquisition of the asset exactly once, and it dutifully pays you a daily wage for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
Okay, this is a profound realization, but I want to keep pushing the boundaries of this deep dive. We have analyzed businesses that heavily rely on managing human labor, like the cleaning and pest control crews.
Right.
And we have examined businesses that rely on the physical infrastructure of machines, like the laundry facilities and equipment rentals. But what if a listener wants to scale further? What if a beginner entrepreneur wants to aggressively remove the human element of service delivery almost entirely?
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
How do you capture the recurring revenue of a location, but permanently eliminate the agonizing headaches of human resource management, payroll, and staff callouts? That brings us to automated, location-based deployment models.
This is a fascinating architectural evolution. We're moving deeply into the realm of physical automation. Let's deconstruct business number 6, the vending machine business.
They are ubiquitous. You see them everywhere, woven into the background of daily life. Massive international airport terminals, deep underground metro transit stations, the sterile waiting rooms of sprawling hospital complexes, and the break rooms of massive corporate office towers.
Yeah, the research sources poetically describe the vending machine as a salesman that eagerly works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
It is, on paper, the mathematically perfect employee. It never marches into your office to demand a salary increase. It takes absolutely 0 Sundays or public holidays off.
It never calls in sick because it ate bad sushi, it never gossips with coworkers, and it never complains about the volume of transactions it has to process.
I hear the pitch, but I am going to push back hard on this one, because the way you describe it makes it sound like a completely effortless cheat code for wealth.
I know, it sounds too good to be true.
Right. Is the secret to financial independence really just buying a shiny, expensive, glowing box, plugging it into a wall socket, and waiting to get rich? Because if it is that simple, every single person listening to this would have 3 of them in their garage by tomorrow morning. There has to be a catch.
I am incredibly glad you challenged that because that exact assumption is a massive, financially lethal misconception for beginners entering the space. Assuming the machine does the work is how you lose your entire investment.
Okay, so what's the real secret?
The secret to this business model is absolutely fundamentally not the machine itself.
It's the location trap.
Yes. There is an ancient, unbreakable axiom in commercial retail. Products and technology can be infinitely copied, but physical locations cannot.
Right.
A vending business is not a snack distribution business. It is a micro real estate arbitrage business that happens to sell snacks.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
If you take a battered 15-year-old, slightly rusty vending machine and negotiate to place it in a phenomenal high-traffic bottleneck, say the only exit corridor of a massive factory floor changing room, that machine will aggressively print money.
But conversely,
If you take a state-of-the-art, glowing, touchscreen, AI-enabled machine and place it in a dead, low-foot traffic hallway of a failing strip mall, it will bleed your maintenance capital dry and eventually bankrupt you.
so the core competency isn't picking the best brand of potato chips to stock. The core competency is high-level negotiation. You are in the business of identifying prime micro real estate and structuring revenue share agreements with the property managers to capture their guaranteed captive foot traffic.
Precisely. You are monetizing the flow of human beings that someone else already spent millions of dollars to aggregate.
That is brilliant.
Let's break down the empirical math from the sources to illustrate the sheer scale of this leverage. Imagine you successfully negotiate a placement contract inside the primary cafeteria of a major IT corporate campus.
Okay, tons of people.
There are 1,500 highly paid software engineers trapped in that building for 9 hours a day. If each of those employees spends a mere 50 rupees a month at your machine, Maybe buying a single premium coffee or a quick energy bar during a grueling 3 p.m. coding sprint. The aggregate numbers skyrocket incredibly fast.
And that is the math on just one single machine footprint.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how rapidly the technology and the product offerings are evolving. The stereotype is stale, generic potato chips, and sugary lukewarm sodas. But the market has moved way past that.
Yeah, the variety and the unit economics of the products are staggering right now. We are observing operators deploying machines that dispense freshly ground artisanal coffee with telemetry software that alerts the owner when the milk is running low.
We see refrigerated machines dispensing high-margin, chilled protein shakes, specifically targeted in the lobbies of premium fitness centers.
We see machines dispensing emergency sanitary products in massive corporate restroom facilities, essential over-the-counter medicines in transit hubs, and yes, as the most extreme example in the sources noted, there are specialized, heavily armored machines dispensing actual gold coins in ultra-high net worth financial districts.
Gold coins from a vending machine. That sounds absurd, but it perfectly validates the thesis. The physical location entirely dictates the product viability.
Right.
If you place a machine in a high-end wealth management lobby, gold coins might actually convert. If you place it outside a powerlifting gym, it has to be protein shakes. The machine is just a dumb terminal that facilitates the transaction automatically.
Which is exactly why these location-based models, when executed correctly, ensure such incredible long-term operational stability. Once you undergo the arduous process of securing the binding contract for that prime 1 square meter footprint of floor space, the customer acquisition cost drops to absolute zero.
Because they're already there.
Yes. The customers are already physically standing there. You do not have to spend a single dime of your margin on Google AdWords or social media influencer campaigns to drag people to your vending machine. The foot traffic is a completely captive audience experiencing acute, localized demand.
That concept of acute localized demand brings us seamlessly to the next model, which is perhaps the most primal, fundamental, location-based business of all.
Right.
Because it entirely strips away the luxury of choice and deals strictly with the absolute most basic biological need imaginable, the RO water ATM business.
I want the listener to zoom out and think about the massive, disruptive macroeconomic shifts we are experiencing in the world right now. Artificial intelligence is actively rewriting entire sectors of the knowledge economy.
Oh yeah, historic business models are being flipped upside down overnight. Technology is evolving at a breakneck, almost terrifying pace.
But the underlying biology of the consumer remains static. It doesn't matter what version of ChatGPT we are currently running or what the latest VR headset can do. The human body will still violently require clean drinking water. That is an inescapable biological constant for the next 100 or 1,000 years.
Exactly, and what is so strategically fascinating here is the psychological dynamic of absolute necessity versus brand loyalty.
It's a huge factor.
Every single day, millions of individuals are forced to pay for safe drinking water at sweltering railway platforms, bustling, chaotic bus transit stands, and sprawling, dusty industrial manufacturing zones.
And here is the crucial, actionable insight derived from the research data. When a commuter is standing on a 40-degree railway platform and they are deeply uncomfortably thirsty, they do not care even slightly about the specific corporate brand of the water.
They are not scanning the platform looking for a designer artisanal label.
They are purely solving for the acute biological need for hydration and the baseline guarantee that the water won't make them sick.
It is a profound lesson in consumer psychology. When a biological necessity heavily outranks brand loyalty, the unglamorous business providing the most accessible, frictionless solution wins the market share every single time.
And the operational profile is beautifully passive. Once the physical infrastructure is deployed, the machine is securely bolted down, tapped directly into the municipal water source, integrated with a UPI digital payment scanner so you aren't dealing with massive piles of physical coins, and placed on a rigid, recurring filter maintenance schedule. It just, well, executes.
The machine tirelessly processes microtransactions all day and all night.
The entrepreneur who owns the route could be sitting in their living room reading a book or actively traveling to another continent entirely, and the machine is still flawlessly fulfilling that basic human need and aggregating revenue.
And once again, the marketing budget is practically non-existent. The thirsty consumer walks directly to your point of sale because you mathematically calculated their route and placed the solution directly in their unavoidable path.
It is the ultimate expression of a low-risk, high-probability entry strategy. You are not expending energy trying to aggressively convince people they want what you have, which is what Karan is doing when he tries to convince a passerby they want an overpriced, complex vanilla latte.
You're simply standing directly in front of a massive crowd of people who already desperately need what you have.
Let's execute one final massive transition here. We have methodically scaled our thinking upward.
We started with managing intensive human labor via commercial cleaning.
Right. We scaled to leveraging heavy physical machines with equipment rentals. We scaled to automated physical infrastructure with vending and water ATMs.
But what happens when we push this logic to the absolute ultimate frontier of modern business? What happens when we completely remove the constraints of the physical world entirely?
We are entering the domain of infinite leverage. We are talking about the architectural ability to expend the effort to create a product exactly one time and then possess the capability to sell that exact same product an infinite number of times without ever remaking it.
This brings us to the final model on our breakdown. Micro SaaS. SaaS is an acronym that stands for Software as a Service.
We all know the massive, globally dominant SaaS behemoths, companies like Adobe, Salesforce, or Microsoft Office.
Yeah, the model is universally understood. You no longer drive to a store to buy a CD-ROM and a cardboard box to permanently own the software. Instead, you subscribe to it. You pay a monthly fee for continuous access to the cloud.
But the real blue ocean strategy for a beginner right now isn't trying to build the next Salesforce. It is micro SaaS. It is taking that exact same subscription model and shrinking it down to target painfully boring, hyper-local, highly specific business problems.
Let's ground this in a highly specific, tangible example from our source material. Imagine the owner of a highly successful, independent local gym.
Okay.
They have managed to acquire 500 active, paying members. But let's look at their actual daily operation. It is 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. The gym owner is exhausted, sitting at a cheap folding table near the entrance. They have a massive, chaotic physical binder filled with 500 plastic sleeves.
Wow, old school.
They are agonizingly cross-referencing a printed bank statement line by line to see who successfully sent a digital transfer, and then manually texting 45 different people whose memberships expired 3 days ago. Half of those people won't reply, and the owner has to track them down on the gym floor tomorrow.
It is an absolute administrative nightmare. Or consider a wildly busy local dental clinic. The receptionist is on the verge of a breakdown trying to manage a chaotic, constantly shifting schedule of appointments, last-minute cancellations, and emergency rebookings using a whiteboard and a messy Excel spreadsheet.
Or a regional wholesale distributor trying to manually track a massive, fluctuating warehouse inventory across 3 different locations.
These are universal, tedious, highly painful operational bottlenecks. And this is exactly where the analogy you brought up earlier becomes the perfect mental model.
Right. I was thinking about this architecture. Building a micro-size product is essentially identical to building a digital vending machine.
I love that.
But the economics are vastly, unfairly superior. With a physical vending machine, when a customer taps their card and buys a bag of chips, the physical chip is gone. The inventory is depleted.
Right. You eventually have to pay a human being to drive a truck across town and physically restock the machine.
But when you architect a digital vending machine, you stock it with a compiled software solution. And when a gym owner subscribes to it, the snack doesn't disappear. You just allow 10,000 different gym owners around the globe to purchase access to the exact same digital snack over and over and over again.
And you never, ever have to manufacture a second bag of chips.
Exactly. It is pure financial magic.
But I have to insert a massive hurdle here.
Yeah.
If I am listening to this and I am an absolute beginner, maybe I work in sales or logistics, I am not a Silicon Valley coding genius. I don't know Python. I don't know how to deploy a database.
Sure.
How on earth do I build a software product that businesses will actually pay for? Isn't the technical barrier to entry insurmountable?
That assumption used to be true 10 years ago, but it is completely false today. First, you have to deeply understand the psychology of the small business owner you are targeting. This is paramount.
Okay, what do they want?
Small business owners do not want technological innovation. They do not care about blockchain integration or complex AI models or industry paradigm shifts.
What are they actually willing to pull their credit card out for?
They want absolute relief. They want relief from the mind-numbing, tedious, repetitive, administrative chores that keep them trapped at the office until 9 p.m. missing dinner with their kids.
Right, they just want their time back.
If you can identify that specific pain point by shadowing them, and then provide a remarkably simple piece of software that turns a daily, agonizing 1-hour headache into a frictionless 10-minute automated process, they will happily, instantly subscribe to it. They are not buying lines of code, they are buying their precious time back.
That makes total sense. But what about the coding part?
As for the technical execution, we live in the era of powerful no-code tools like Bubble or Flutterflow. Or you simply act as the product manager and hire a skilled freelance developer on Upwork for a few $1,000s to build the initial version. You are the visionary solving the problem, not necessarily the typist writing the code.
And the financial mechanics of this space are what officially make it the holy grail of modern business models. We have to meticulously emphasize the concept of zero marginal cost.
This specific mathematical reality is why SaaS yields the highest profit margins in the history of global commerce. Let's break the mechanics down slowly. You spend the initial capital and the intense strategic time to design and build the core software platform exactly once.
Okay, the digital foundation is poured, the app works.
Now, whether that precise software code is being accessed by one single gym owner or 100 gym owners or 10,000 gym owners globally, your operational costs barely fluctuate. You do not need to construct a new physical factory to service the 10,000th user. You do not need to sign a lease for a bigger warehouse. You do not need to procure more physical raw materials or navigate complex global shipping logistics.
The cost to duplicate a digital product and hand it to the next customer is mathematically as close to zero as physics allows. So outside of minor server hosting costs, every single new monthly subscription fee drops almost 100% directly to the bottom line as pure profit.
It represents infinite leverage. You architect the system once, and the system scales endlessly without requiring a proportional increase in your physical energy or capital.
Which brings us to the profound climax of our entire deep dive today. We have rigorously analyzed these incredibly diverse, seemingly unrelated business models.
Right. We started with the physical mops and buckets and commercial cleaning. We navigated the high-stakes urgency of emergency pest control. We analyzed the massive physical infrastructure of laundry facilities and heavy tool rentals.
We mapped the automated real estate of vending machines and water ATMs all the way up to the ethereal, infinite scale of Microsoft.
On the surface, they seem completely disconnected, right? Like they belong on entirely different economic planets. The guy renting out a concrete cutter seems to have nothing in common with the guy writing code for a gym CRM.
But they share the exact same DNA, because the absolute most important business on this entire list isn't a specific industry or a specific product at all.
It is the invisible architectural thread that tightly connects every single successful venture we've deconstructed today.
It is the underlying core principle, the absolute mandate of recurring revenue.
Okay, we need to unpack the mechanics of this concept thoroughly, because this is the entire unfiltered secret to making money while you sleep.
Let's do it.
Let's utilize a brutal comparison. Let's compare the traditional old-school retail business model to a treadmill. Imagine you decide to launch a business selling a high-end physical product.
Right.
Let's say you manufacture and sell a beautiful ergonomic office chair for 10,000 rupees.
Okay, I spend weeks optimizing my digital marketing. I run expensive ads. I finally convince a customer to click. They buy the chair. I receive 10,000 rupees. I feel like a successful entrepreneur.
But then what physically happens the next day? The customer takes delivery of the chair, they sit in it, and they are gone. The transaction is completely permanently over.
Right.
Tomorrow morning, you wake up, you look at your dashboard, and your revenue for the day is exactly zero. You've been violently thrown back to the starting line.
The treadmill resets to zero.
Exactly. You are forced to spend fresh capital on marketing all over again. You have to hustle for new leads all over again. You have to overcome objections and negotiate all over again. You have to coordinate the physical logistics of delivery all over again.
That sounds exhausting.
If you stop running on that exhausting treadmill, if you get a severe flu, or if you just want to take your family on a one-week vacation, the income instantly, mercilessly stops.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare of anxiety. That is Karan standing in his beautiful cafe, staring at the door, desperately waiting for a brand new person to walk in and decide to buy a cup of coffee every single day. If nobody walks in that specific day, he grosses zero, but his rent is still due.
Now, heavily contrast that with the alternative architecture we have been meticulously analyzing today. The system.
The escalator.
Yes. In a recurring revenue model, a customer signs a binding contract or a digital subscription exactly once. You expend the sales energy exactly once, and then the payment arrives automatically, reliably, every single month, like clockwork.
It is the exact same financial mechanic as your personal Netflix subscription, or your monthly gym membership, or the regional hospital's 2-year commercial cleaning retainer, or the panicked restaurant owner's quarterly pest control annual maintenance contract.
You are absolutely not required to aggressively convince them to pull out their credit card and buy from you every single month. You already successfully executed the sale. Now, your only operational mandate is to simply maintain a rigorous standard of invisible service, so they never experience the friction of wanting to cancel.
So, the single most devastating mistake that amateur entrepreneurs make is asking the entirely wrong mathematical question when they are evaluating a potential business idea.
Right?
They look at a shiny physical product like a trendy pair of sneakers or a new gadget, and they excitedly ask, wow, how much is the profit margin on this single item?
That is precisely the amateur's question. They are obsessively focused on the singular margin of an isolated one-off transaction.
Hmm.
But the millionaire's question, the question that dictates long-term generational wealth, is entirely different.
The millionaire's question is, how many times will this specific profit repeat itself automatically?
What's fascinating here is the massive psychological shift required to grasp this. We need to crystallize this mindset for our listeners. There is a pervasive toxic myth in startup culture that incredibly wealthy individuals magically discover secret, highly glamorous, complex businesses that normal people simply don't have the intelligence or access to understand.
Right, like there's some VIP lounge of business ideas that we are locked out of.
But that is a complete fiction.
Mm.
They do not have secret ideas. They simply evaluate businesses through a totally different filter. They actively prioritize industries that the average consumer finds profoundly boring or even slightly distasteful.
Yeah.
They aggressively prioritize predictable, boring cash flow over the fleeting adrenaline of a grand opening party. They prioritize engineering robust, automated operational systems over endlessly chasing the latest TikTok marketing trend.
And above all else, they prioritize locking in unsexy repeat customers over chasing one-time aesthetically pleasing vanity sales.
Which means we can distill this entire hour of deep analysis into highly actionable, immediate advice for the listener, a practical, razor-sharp toolkit you can implement literally today.
Let's hand them the 30-second filter. The next time you are sitting in a coffee shop with a friend who pitches you a brilliant idea, or you are up at 2 a.m. evaluating a new business venture for yourself, I want you to ruthlessly run it through this exact heuristic.
Ask yourself one brutal, uncompromising question. Does this business model pay me once, or does it pay me every single month?
Does this pay me once or every month?
If the honest answer is once, you are actively volunteering to build a treadmill. You are signing a contract for your own long-term exhaustion. But if the answer is every month, you are architecting a wealth-generating system.
Applying this one simple 30-second filter will instantly save you from wasting years of your life pursuing 90% of the average exhausting, highly competitive, low-margin opportunities out there.
Because it forcibly rewires your brain to look at the invisible structural architecture of the cash flow, rather than being hypnotized by the shiny, aesthetic storefront.
It forces you to look completely past the neon signs and the Instagram followers and look directly at the underlying mechanics of the revenue.
And that is the only empirical way to build long-term sustainable success. You must exclusively analyze and acquire repeatable revenue models. You must actively hunt for unglamorous businesses that become the indispensable, invisible infrastructure to someone else's daily operations.
This has been a profoundly eye-opening journey. Let's briefly recap the immense ground we've covered today. We started by dismantling the dangerous illusion of the glamorous, high-capex cafe, and we empirically saw how chasing consumer vanity metrics is a mathematical fast track to burnout and bankruptcy.
We deeply explored the incredible stabilizing power of B2B services, like commercial cleaning and emergency pest control, where you are fundamentally selling reliability and the complete absence of a headache, securing long-term corporate contracts that mathematically guarantee your forward-looking income.
We analyzed the critical infrastructure businesses, breaking down the massive capital expenditure avoidance in commercial laundry and heavy equipment rentals, definitively proving that offering businesses on-demand access to assets is vastly more lucrative than forcing them into ownership.
We broke down the unit economics of automated, location-based models like physical vending machines and RO water ATMs, highlighting that securing a perfect micro-real estate bottleneck can create a 247 silent salesman requiring almost zero human intervention, completely bypassing brand loyalty in favor of absolute necessity.
And finally, we scaled all the way up to the infinite leverage of microsauce, where solving a hyper-specific, excruciatingly boring administrative problem exactly once empowers you to deploy that digital solution thousands of times globally, with a marginal cost approaching zero.
All of these wildly different vehicles are tightly bound together by the ultimate non-negotiable filter, recurring revenue.
Embracing the profoundly boring, hyper-reliable, recurring revenue models isn't just a strategy. It is the ultimate proven shortcut to true entrepreneurial freedom.
It is the exact blueprint for how you architect a business that serves your life, rather than building a business where your life serves the business.
Which brings me to a final, slightly provocative thought I want to leave you with. Something to deeply analyze after this deep dive ends. We have spent an hour relentlessly breaking down how the most boring problems in the world are actually the most highly profitable problems to solve.
They are massive, hidden gold mines disguised as tedious chores.
So I want you to turn that analytical lens inward. Look closely at your own day-to-day life right now. Look at your current 9-to-5 corporate job. Look at your repetitive weekly routine. What is the absolute most tedious, infuriatingly annoying, repetitive, mind-numbing administrative task you're forced to do?
That is a brilliant, highly lucrative lens to look through.
What is the one specific friction point you actively dread dealing with every single week? Because the mathematical reality is this. If you deeply hate doing it, chances are thousands of other professionals globally hate doing it just as much.
Oh, definitely.
And someone out there, and there's absolutely no reason it couldn't be you, could architect a simple, incredibly boring system to make that exact same problem permanently disappear. And those exhausted professionals will be absolutely desperate to pay you a recurring monthly fee for that exact relief.
You don't need a broken X-ray machine to spot that opportunity. It's hiding in plain sight, buried in the absolute most boring parts of your Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. So keep a sharp eye out for the boring. Cultivate an obsession with the mundane. It might just be your permanent ticket off the treadmill. Until next time, keep diving deep.
I want you to picture someone for a second. Think about that one person you might know, or, maybe someone you've just observed in your neighborhood, who fits a very specific, almost like invisible archetype.
Oh, I know exactly the type you're talking about.
Right. They're usually in their 50s or 60s. They never, ever talk about money.
Never.
They don't wear flashy watches. They drive a perfectly normal, maybe like 10-year-old Toyota or Ford.
Yeah.
But, and this is the crazy part, whenever they need it, the money is just magically there.
It just appears.
Exactly. They travel for a month at a time, they seem completely immune to corporate stress, and they owe absolutely nothing to anyone.
It's a fascinating profile, isn't it? I mean, the quiet millionaire next door.
Yeah.
We all have this heavily curated image in our heads of what wealth is supposed to look like in the modern era, And that person rarely, if ever, fits the mold.
No, exactly. We expect wealth to look like a glossy magazine cover or a meticulously filtered social media feed.
With the sports cars and the private jets.
Right. We expect it to be loud and disruptive. But the secret of this specific type of person, the one who actually has real freedom, is usually a business that is so profoundly, wondrously boring that 99% of people would never even give it a second glance.
Which is their ultimate advantage.
Exactly. And that right there, that absolute lack of glamour, is exactly why it works so incredibly well.
It really is the ultimate paradox of modern success. I mean, we are socially conditioned to seek the spotlight, right? To want the title of founder or, innovator.
Sure, the ego boost.
But the most reliable, unshakable cash flows are usually hiding in plain sight. They're just doing the gritty, unglamorous work of keeping society functioning on a daily basis.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We were taking a look at an extensive analysis from a YouTube channel called David Explains Money.
It's a great breakdown.
It really is. It covers 20 forgotten, highly profitable businesses projected for 2026. And our goal today is to completely dismantle your preconceptions about what it actually takes to be a successful entrepreneur.
We're going to break down the actual math.
Yes, the exact mathematics, the necessary mindsets, and the surprisingly low-cost entry points of businesses that generate that quiet, consistent wealth we were just talking about.
And, as we navigate through this material, I want you to hold a specific visual contrast in your mind.
Okay, lay it on us.
On one side, picture a flashy, neon-lit tech startup office. Ping pong tables, kombucha on tap, massive venture capital funding.
But completely empty of actual paying customers.
Exactly, a burning pile of cash. Now, on the other side, picture a bustling, entirely unglamorous laundromat.
Oh, with the scuffed linoleum floors and everything?
Right, the flickering fluorescent lights. It doesn't look like much, but the coin machines and card readers in that room are just constantly, endlessly collecting revenue.
Regardless of who the president is or what the stock market did that morning. Okay, let's unpack this. Because we really need to start by confronting the myth of glamour versus the reality of reliability. Why is it that boring service models consistently have higher success rates than popular tech startups?
It's a great question.
I mean, we are constantly bombarded by this cultural narrative, right? The dinner party ego tells us we need to launch a tech startup or build a personal brand to actually be someone of value.
It is an ego trap, pure and simple, and it blinds incredibly smart people to obvious opportunities.
Because they just want the social validation.
Exactly. We crave the social validation of a cool job title. But the analysis we're looking at brings up a really crucial piece of foundational research from Thomas Stanley's work.
Ah, the millionaire next door.
Yes, the millionaire next door. His findings completely shatter that Silicon Valley illusion. He found that a massive portion of millionaires in the United States didn't inherit their money.
Right.
And more importantly, they do not work in glamorous, highly competitive industries.
So they aren't sitting around trying to invent the next viral app.
Far from it. They own businesses that solve simple, everyday structural problems. Problems that never disappear, regardless of what the broader economy is doing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they are solving problems that exist entirely outside of consumer trends.
Let's look at the absolute poster child for this concept, which you mentioned earlier. The laundromat.
Oh, the data here is incredible.
It honestly made me do a double takes. Laundromats have a staggering 94.8% success rate at the 5-year mark.
Think about the statistical anomaly there.
It's wild.
A survival rate of nearly 95% at year 5.
Right. Out of every 100 people who open a laundromat, nearly 95 are still operating after half a decade.
And you have to compare that to the overall average for new businesses across the board,
Or nearly half close their doors in that exact same period.
Exactly. That discrepancy is just massive.
But here's where I need you to explain the mechanics to me, because the numbers seem almost too good. The industry is a $5 billion a year market, and a well-run location can generate over $300,000 annually.
Which is very solid.
But the piece I can't wrap my head around is the profit. The data says they operate with 50% margins.
50%. Yeah.
Wait, 50% margins?
Yeah.
If I'm renting a restaurant or a retail store, I'm thrilled to hit 10 or 15%.
Oh, you're popping champagne for 15% in a restaurant.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that extra 40% coming from? Is it purely the lack of payroll?
Well, the lack of payroll is a massive component, yes, but it's really about the absence of perishability and the brilliant shifting of labor.
Okay, unpack that. Shifting of labor.
Yeah, so if you think about the mechanics of a restaurant, you have perishable inventory, right? Food spoils if it isn't sold.
Right, it literally goes bad in the fridge.
And you have to pay a highly coordinated staff to prepare it, serve it, and clean it up. But in a laundromat, what is your product?
I guess. Access to the machines.
Exactly. Your product is access to commercial-grade machines, clean water, and rotation. None of that spoils.
Wow.
Furthermore, you have outsourced the most expensive part of any business, the labor, directly to the customer.
That is so true. The customer physically brings the raw material, the dirty clothes.
The customer loads the machine, the customer transfers it to the dryer.
The customer folds it.
Exactly. You are simply renting them the localized infrastructure to do it.
That makes perfect sense. The customer is effectively the employee of the transaction.
Precisely. And the customer base is incredibly loyal. The data says 90% of laundromat customers are repeat customer.
90%.
What's fascinating here is the underlying biological and physical constant driving that revenue. Clothes get dirty on their own.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It is a thermodynamic certainty. You never, ever have to launch a viral marketing campaign to convince a customer that they need clean clothes.
Right, you don't have to convince them of the problem.
No, you just have to be conveniently located on their route home.
But let me push back on that a little bit, just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Isn't this kind of a dying industry in the long run? I mean, modern apartment buildings are increasingly being built with in-unit appliances, right? And suburban homes have smart washers and dryers. Why would this industry still be projected for growth in 2026?
That is the exact assumption that keeps the competition low.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a very common blind spot. Yes, premium new build apartments have in-unit washers, but millions of older units, affordable housing sectors, and high-density urban rentals do not.
Okay, that's a good point.
You also have to factor in the physical limitations of home machines. Try washing a king-size down comforter or like heavy winter rugs or industrial workwear in a standard residential machine.
You literally can't. It'll break the drum.
Exactly. It requires commercial volume. But the broader point here is a triumph of routine over viral marketing.
The triumph of routine. I like that.
You aren't trying to capture a fleeting, fickle desire, you are servicing a permanent, cyclical necessity.
Which perfectly sets up two other industries from the analysis that deal with, let's face it, the significantly less pleasant permanent necessities of human existence.
Oh, yes. We are talking about trash and pests.
The ultimate biological constants.
Truly. As long as humans exist, we'll produce physical waste and bugs will breed.
Exactly. Let's look at the mechanics of trash hauling. This is a $20 billion industry.
It's massive.
And what makes it so bulletproof, according to the analysis, is the automatic renewal structure. People are billing $3 million a year just picking up junk and managing waste in their localized regional areas.
Just moving stuff from point A to point B.
Yeah. And then you have pest control, which is currently a $30 billion industry, but projected to reach $40 billion by 2030.
And if we look closely at the pest control data, the most vital metric isn't just the overall market size.
What is it?
It is the revenue model. 85% of residential income in the pest control industry comes from recurring service contracts.
Recurring revenue.
Yeah.
The absolute holy grail of cash flow.
It is the foundation of true, unshakable wealth. Let's think about why that 85% number is so high.
Okay.
It's because biological problems require biological solutions. A spider or an ant colony doesn't respect a one-off chemical spray.
Right. They just come back next week.
The structural mechanics of the business require a quarterly barrier treatment to actually work. Because of that physical reality, you aren't selling a one-time fix.
You're selling an ongoing solution.
You are selling a subscription to a bug-free house. A customer pays you every single quarter, automatically, without you ever having to sell them on your service again.
That's brilliant.
You do the hard work of acquiring the customer once, and the biological reality of the pests ensures they keep paying you.
Right, because nobody wants ants in their kitchen.
Exactly. This creates a business foundation that is infinitely more stable than relying on an algorithm to push your product to a new audience every day.
So, if the data is this mathematically clear and the demand is permanent, why aren't more people doing it? I mean, the immediate objection I can hear you, the listener, shouting through the speakers right now is, I don't have the capital.
Right. I can't afford it.
Yeah, like, that all sounds great, but I can't afford to sign a commercial lease for a brick-and-mortar laundromat, and I can't afford a fleet of heavy-duty garbage trucks.
And that objection is the barrier to entry myth. We assume that wealth creation fundamentally requires massive upfront investment.
But the analysis completely dismantles that excuse. Of the 20 businesses analyzed for 2026, at least 5 of them can be started for under $5,000.
$5,000, that's it.
And 3 of them can literally be started this weekend with tools you might already have, or can just go buy at a local hardware store.
There are zero financial excuses here. We should break those down because the specific mathematics and the pricing mechanics of these low-cost launch pads are incredibly revealing.
Let's do it. Let's start with venture number 1, pressure washing.
A classic.
You can start this business with less than $5,000. You need a solid commercial-grade pressure washer, a vehicle to transport it, and some basic marketing materials.
Pretty straightforward.
And you charge between $200 and $500 per job to clean driveways, patios, and house facades. But how does a solo operator actually get that first client without spending thousands on advertising?
Consider the built-in marketing model here. It's brilliant in its simplicity.
How come?
This business relies on stark visual contrast. When you clean a driveway in a suburban neighborhood, you aren't just cleaning concrete,
You're making it look brand new.
You are creating a massive, unavoidable billboard for your services. The neighbors walk their dogs, they see the stark line between a gleaming white driveway and their own algae-covered concrete, and the contrast creates immediate demand.
Oh, the work literally speaks for itself.
Exactly. They walk over and hire you on the spot while the machine is still running. You don't need to optimize a Google ad campaign.
You just need to do an undeniably great job where people can visibly see it.
And because algae grows back, they call you back every season.
That's amazing. Now, if we want to talk about highly profitable visual contrast, we have to look at venture number 2.
Yeah.
I find this one incredibly intriguing because it is so pervasive, yet completely invisible to the average person.
I think I know which one you're going to say.
Parking lot striping.
Yes, parking lot striping.
Oh, this one blew my mind. Every single shopping center, every strip mall, church, bank, and school needs their parking lot lines painted, highly visible, and maintained.
Every single one.
The basic equipment to start. So a commercial line striping machine and the specific industrial paint costs between $3,000 and $5,000.
And the return on that is very fast.
Yeah. A single job can pay between $500 and $2,000 for what often amounts to just an afternoon or an evening's worth of work.
We connect this to the bigger picture. You have to understand the B2B or business-to-business dynamics at play here.
Right, because you're not selling to homeowners.
Exactly. Parking lot striping isn't just about making the asphalt look nice. It is a strict legal requirement.
Oh, because of the ADA, right?
Yes. Municipalities have codes. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, requires incredibly specific dimensions, colors, and visibility for accessible parking spaces.
So it's not optional for these businesses.
Not at all. If a property manager fails to maintain those lines, they are exposing the property owner to massive liability and code violations.
Oh,
Yet it is practically devoid of competition because people just don't realize it is a standalone business. We walk across parking lots every day and just kind of assume the city paints the lines or the massive paving company that laid the asphalt comes back to do it.
right. We don't see the individual entrepreneur working for 3 hours at night when the lot is empty, making $2,000.
Exactly. It's an invisible gold mine.
That's a great point about the B2B aspect. You aren't convincing a homeowner to part with their disposable income.
No, you're solving a corporate problem.
You are helping a property manager use their maintenance budget to avoid legal fines. The friction is just so much lower.
Much lower.
Now, let's look at venture number 3, because this one might be the most accessible on the entire list in terms of upfront capital, the notary public and loan signing agent.
The initial capital required here is remarkably low. It is almost entirely an administrative hurdle rather than a financial one.
It's essentially just the cost of a stamp and a background check.
Yeah.
Getting certified costs between $50 and $150, depending on the state you live in.
Which is nothing for a business startup.
Right. And once you have that official seal, you can charge between $75 and $200 per document signing as a mobile notary.
And it gets better if you specialize.
Yeah, if you specialize and become a loan signing agent for mortgage closings, that jumps to $125 to $300 per appointment.
Exactly.
If you build relationships with local title companies and manage 3 or 4 signings a day, you are generating $500 to $1,200 daily.
With zero inventory, no office overhead, and no employees.
But the analysis highlights a very specific, highly lucrative niche within this space that requires zero extra capital if you already possess the skill.
This is a massive competitive advantage.
The multilingual advantage.
Yes, for anyone who speaks a second language, this is huge.
This makes so much sense when you think about the actual human experience of the service.
Exactly. There are millions of people buying homes in the United States who prefer or absolutely require a notary who speaks their native language.
Think about the mechanics of a mortgage closing.
It's incredibly stressful.
It's terrifying. It is usually the single biggest financial transaction of a person's entire life. You are sitting at a table with a stack of like 150 pages of incredibly dense, intimidating legal jargon.
Promissory notes, deeds of trust, escrow disclosures.
Right. If English isn't your first language, that process is a nightmare of anxiety. You are signing your life away, and you aren't 100% sure what the fine print even says.
Precisely. So by offering mobile notary and loan signing services in a buyer's native language, you are not just providing a legally mandated stamp.
What are you providing?
You are providing emotional comfort, clarity, and trust in a high-stakes environment.
Oh, that's powerful.
That immediately opens up a market that monolingual notaries simply cannot access. Title companies will specifically seek you out and prioritize you for those closings because you ensure the transaction goes smoothly and the buyer feels secure.
It allows you to build a highly profitable, specialized niche instantly.
Exactly.
That is a brilliant way to leverage an existing skill. But it isn't just about leveraging language. The data also dives heavily into leveraging your location. We need to look at regional opportunities,
These are businesses that thrive based on pure geographic necessity.
which proves a vital point, right? You don't need a globally scalable, world-changing idea to build massive personal wealth.
Not at
You
all.
just need to look at the physical environment immediately surrounding you and solve the friction it creates.
Take pool cleaning, for example.
Yes. There are over 10 million residential pools in the United States. If you happen to live in a state like Florida, Texas, Arizona, or Southern California, this is an absolute gold mine.
Because here is the truth. Most owners love the idea of a pool,
But they fundamentally do not want to deal with the chemical balancing.
or the skimming and the filter maintenance. It's a lot of work.
It really is.
And the economics here are incredibly stable, provided you understand one critical operational concept: route density.
Route density. Break that down for us, because I know that's the make or break metric for these types of mobile services.
Sure. So route density is the measure of how closely clustered your clients are geographically.
Okay.
If you have 40 pool clients spread across an entire major metropolitan area, you are going to spend 60% of your day sitting in traffic, burning expensive gas, and putting wear and tear on your truck.
Right, you're just driving all day.
You are losing money through inefficiency. But if you build route density, meaning you have 40 pools located within, say, 3 adjacent neighborhoods, your travel time drops to almost zero.
Oh, wow.
You finish one house, drive 2 minutes, and start the next. The data shows a pool technician who masters route density with 40 clients can earn between $80,000 and $120,000 a year working half days.
Working half days, year-round.
Yes.
Because even in the winter, the water requires chemical maintenance so it doesn't turn into a swamp. You show up, you test the water, you add the chemicals, you collect your monthly retainer, and you move on. The recurring income is permanently baked into the physical reality of owning a body of water.
And staying on the topic of water, there is another highly regional model that leverages geography brilliantly, but it kind of reverses the logistics.
Oh, what do you mean?
Instead of you driving to the water, the customer drives to the water.
Yes. Ice vending machines. This one absolutely floored me. So instead of a massive brick-and-mortar operation, you buy a standalone automated machine for around $35,000.
Which is a very reasonable capital expense for what it is.
Right. You negotiate a small footprint lease, maybe the corner of a gas station parking lot or a marina. It requires a water line, an electrical hookup, and then it just runs.
24/7 with 0 employees.
And the return on that capital investment. The numbers in the analysis show it can generate over $40,000 a year in largely passive income.
It literally pays for itself in 12 to 18 months.
These are incredibly lucrative in the southern United States, along coastal fishing routes, and specifically near RV parks and campgrounds where people need to fill coolers constantly.
Think about the margins here. You are taking tap water, running it through a commercial freezer, and selling it for $3 a bag.
It is the purest, most elegant distillation of a boring business. It is a steel box that freezes water, yet it yields a 6-figure return over a few years with minimal weekly maintenance.
It leverages the psychology of ultimate convenience. People don't want to walk into a crowded grocery store, wait in line, and carry a melting bag of ice to their car.
No, they want to drive up, swipe a card, and have it drop directly into their cooler.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because as simple and automated as selling frozen water is, we have to talk about the absolute cheapest, most unglamorous, and perhaps most psychologically difficult business on the entire list.
The one everyone avoids.
Yes. We have to talk about the ego trap and why overcoming social embarrassment is the ultimate filter for building consistent wealth.
This really is the crux of the entire analysis. For the vast majority of people, the barrier to entry isn't financial, it's emotional.
The moat protecting these profits is made entirely of pride. Let me introduce you to the pet waste empire. Yes, we are talking about literally scooping dog poop out of residential yards.
It's the ultimate swallow your pride business.
There are over 90 million households with dogs in the United States. And let's be honest, it is the single most universally hated chore of dog ownership.
But when you remove your ego from the equation and look strictly at the math, the financial picture changes dramatically.
Let's do the math. There are companies in suburban areas charging between $15 and $25 per weekly visit.
Okay.
If you secure 100 clients at an average of $20 a week, you are grossing $2,000 a week. That is $8,000 a month. That is $96,000 a year.
You are bumping up against a 6-figure income.
Right. And the required equipment to start: a heavy-duty trash bag, a commercial scooper, a dedicated pair of boots, and absolutely zero misplaced pride.
Zero misplaced pride. That phrase is the defining characteristic that separates the successful service entrepreneur from the perpetually struggling dreamer.
Wow.
The embarrassment is the competitive advantage. Because you are willing to do what your neighbor is too proud to do, you capture their capital.
And the analysis illustrates this psychological divide perfectly with a major, incredibly resonant story. We really need to spend some real time on this because it is the emotional core of this deep dive.
The tale of Daniel versus Alex.
Yes, the tale of Daniel versus Alex.
This comparison is highly instructive because it perfectly isolates the variable of mindset. All other demographic and financial variables between these two are identical.
Right. Let's look at Daniel. We'll call him the dreamer. Daniel is 42 years old. He works a standard W-2 job in construction, making a solid, honest living of about $55,000 a year.
Okay.
But for 5 years, Daniel has been talking about wanting to start a business.
Yet he hasn't executed a single revenue-generating action.
Nothing. Because every single time he thinks about a business, he filters it through the lens of what he sees on social media.
The aesthetic trap.
He wants the drop-shipping online store, the sleek personal brand, the high-production podcast, something that looks professional and shiny on a LinkedIn profile.
He is trapped in what we could call the sauce trap, or playing business. He's buying Notion templates, setting up LLCs, designing logos, and paying for web hosting for ideas that don't even have a product yet.
And because he can never find the perfect, friction-free idea that matches that aesthetic, he is completely paralyzed.
He is playing a flight simulator while avoiding the actual cockpit,
That is such a good way to put it.
but his paralysis is incredibly expensive.
This is the part of the data that actually hurts to read. Between the $200 a month on software and business subscriptions he never fully utilizes and the $400 a month he spends eating out to relieve the stress of feeling stuck, the numbers add up.
You really do.
Over 5 years, Daniel has spent over $36,000 on things that generated absolutely zero financial return.
$36,000. If we connect this to the bigger picture of capital allocation, that $36,000 sunk cost is tragic.
It's devastating.
The analysis points out exactly what that liquid capital could have purchased in the real world. Daniel could have bought a fully operational automated car wash in a secondary market. He could have bought and placed 10 high-end vending machines. He could have fully funded, marketed, and insured 3 different blue-collar service businesses from scratch.
But instead, it evaporated while he waited for social validation. Now let's look at the exact opposite approach. Let's look at Alex. We'll call him the doer.
Okay, Alex.
Alex is the exact same age, 42. He makes the exact same salary, $55,000 a year, working as a maintenance tech. But 3 years ago, Alex made a fundamentally different choice.
Alex bypassed the ego trap entirely. He accepted the reality of physical friction.
He didn't incorporate. He didn't hire a brand consultant. He went to a hardware store and bought a commercial pressure washer for $3,500.
Just bought the tool.
He spent $30 on Vistaprint for the most basic business cards imaginable. He didn't buy a $2,000 online course on how to be an entrepreneur. He just had the sheer willingness to go out and do the sweaty, unglamorous work that Daniel was too proud to even consider.
We can actually extract an absolute beginner's step-by-step guide directly from Alex's journey.
Let's do it.
For anyone listening without prior business experience, this is a masterclass in low-cost, high-impact execution.
Yes, let's lay it out for you, the listener, step by step, because this is the exact blueprint. Step 1, the minimum viable purchase.
Alex didn't lease an office or buy a fleet of trucks. He spent exactly what was required to fulfill the service. $3,500 on the washer and $30 on cards. That's it. Keep the initial outlay strictly to the tools required to generate the first dollar.
Step 2, embrace the fear and friction. This is vital. The text explicitly mentions that when Alex started knocking on doors in his neighborhood to offer his services, his hands were literally shaking.
He was terrified of rejection.
He was terrified of looking foolish to his neighbors.
Yeah.
But he did it anyway. He accepted the psychological discomfort as the unavoidable price of entry.
That leads to step 3, direct local action. He didn't worry about SEO or digital marketing funnels or TikTok algorithms.
But he didn't need any of that.
He put his boots on the ground and canvassed his immediate physical neighborhood. He offered to clean a small section of driveway for free to show the visual contrast we talked about earlier.
And the results? He made $800 extra in his very first month, just working weekends. By month 3, word of mouth had spread, and he was grossing $2,400 a month.
And that level of raw consistency leads to step 4, securing institutional contracts.
Yes.
By month 6, Alex's reliability and the sheer visual proof of his work allowed him to approach a localized power structure, the Homeowners Association.
But let me challenge that, because breaking into an HOA is notoriously difficult, right? Property management companies usually have entrenched legacy vendors they've used for a decade.
Yeah.
How does a guy with one truck and the $30 box of business cards actually win that contract?
It's an excellent question, and it comes down to leveraging localized pain points.
What do you mean?
The legacy vendors often become complacent. They start missing appointments, or their pricing slowly creeps up, or their quality drops because they are overextended.
Oh, sure. Alex wins by finding the one frustrated board member, offering a hyperlocal, heavily discounted trial run on the community clubhouse or the main entrance sign. He over-delivers on that small job, proving his reliability.
Building that trust.
Exactly. Once he has their trust, he lands the contract for the common areas, which then acts as an implicit endorsement to all 200 houses in that subdivision.
The ultimate foot in the door. Fast forward to today, 3 years later. The analysis shows Alex has 2 employees, a fully equipped custom truck, and bills over $180,000 a year with his pressure washing business. And he still works his regular maintenance job.
He's building massive surplus wealth, and he's already planning to add roof soft washing because his existing clients keep asking to do it.
So we must ask the critical analytical question here, looking at the data. Why is Daniel paralyzed while Alex succeeds so wildly?
Right, because they started at the exact same baseline.
Same age, same income bracket. It's not innate talent, it's not a lucky break, it's definitely not formal education. It is a fundamental difference in psychological objectives. The analysis frames this brilliantly. Boring businesses pay for exciting lives.
Boring businesses pay for exciting lives. Wow.
Daniel's primary underlying objective is social validation. He wants to be perceived as a savvy, modern tech entrepreneur by his peers and on his social media. Because of that driving need for validation, his brain subconsciously filters out any idea that might cause him social embarrassment.
He won't touch a pressure washer or a poop scooper because it doesn't look cool on Instagram. It conflicts with the avatar he wants to project.
Exactly. Alex, on the other hand, is optimizing for something entirely different. He is seeking cash flow and ultimately the absence of fear.
The absence of fear. I love that framing. That is what wealth actually is.
Real wealth isn't just a large number in a bank account. It is the deep peace of mind knowing that if a macroeconomic recession hits or if a corporate layoff happens, you have built a localized, resilient cash flow engine that sustains you.
Alex traded his ego for security. Daniel fiercely protected his ego, but in doing so, he completely sacrificed his security.
That is a profound shift in mindset.
It really is. And it brings us to the next massive mental hurdle we need to discuss. Because even if you are an Alex, even if you conquer your ego, embrace the sweat, and successfully start the pressure washing or landscaping gig, there is another massive trap waiting for you.
Oh, yes.
We need to analyze the transition from being a hands-on operator to being a system-focused owner.
This transition is the great filter of small business. It is where a small, profitable hustle either plateaus into a grueling, physically exhausting second job or scales into a multi-million-dollar enterprise.
Let's use the landscaping trap as the prime example here. The text notes that every time you drive through any American suburb, especially in the summer, you see dozens of trucks with trailers full of mowers.
Everywhere.
We know the business works. The demand is obvious. Once you hustle and land 30 or 40 residential accounts, you have a highly predictable monthly income. And the barrier to entry is just a commercial zero-turn mower and a willingness to sweat in the sun.
But the data shows that a vast majority of the people in this space make a critical structural mistake that caps their growth permanently.
What's the mistake?
They trap themselves by continuing to charge and operate like employees.
The analysis is very clear on this distinction.
Mm-hmm.
What is the exact difference between a guy making $40,000 a year physically mowing lawns and a founder building a $500,000 landscaping company?
The difference is entirely psychological and structural. It requires a fundamental shift in identity. Think of it like an orchestra.
Okay, an orchestra.
Right now, as a solo operator, you are the first chair violinist. You are playing the instrument as hard and as fast as you can. But to scale, You have to put down the violin and pick up the conductor's baton.
You have to stop playing and start directing.
You must stop being the one who mows the lawn and become the one who manages the systems and the people who mow the lawn. You aren't making the music anymore. You're building the system that produces the music.
It's the classic shift from working in the business to working on the business.
Exactly. As long as you are the operator turning the wrench, pushing the mower, or holding the pressure washing wand, your income is strictly capped by your physical stamina and the immutable laws of time. You only have so many daylight hours.
You are still just trading time for money, exactly like a W-2 employee, just with the added stress of business liability and taxes.
Let's look at commercial cleaning to further illustrate how this mindset shift actually impacts revenue. The analysis specifies we aren't just talking about residential house cleaning like vacuuming someone's living room.
Right.
We are talking about B2B contracts with office buildings, medical facilities, and schools. A single contract to clean a mid-sized office building can pay between $3,000 and $10,000 a month, renewing automatically year after year.
And the barrier for people who already know how to clean isn't a lack of technical knowledge. They know how to mop a floor.
Right. The barrier is this exact mindset shift regarding how they price their value.
Precisely. The data states that the difference between charging by the hour as an employee and charging by the contract as an owner can mean literally tripling your income while doing the exact same physical output initially.
Let's unpack the psychology of the buyer here. An office manager doesn't want to buy 20 hours of your time.
They just want a clean office.
They want to buy the result. A clean, professional lobby that retains their tenants and impresses their clients. When you charge by the contract, you are pricing based on the perceived value of that result, not the time it took to achieve it.
Oh, that's a massive difference.
It immediately incentivizes you to build efficient systems, hire staff, and scale because your time is no longer the product being sold, your system is the product.
Systemization over innovation. That is the absolute secret sauce of the wealthy. Which brings us to an incredible case study from the data, the car wash empire of a man named John Derry.
This is a perfect example of scaling the boring.
The car wash industry in the U.S. recently surpassed $15 billion. A single, well-located automated car wash generates between $150,000 and $200,000 in pure profit per year.
And John Derry started with just one single location.
Right. But he scaled his operation to nearly $6 million in annual revenue, maintaining incredible margins above 20%. So how did he do it? Did he hire a team of engineers to invent some disruptive new laser cleaning technology? A revolutionary patented new soap?
Not at all. The analysis is explicitly clear here. Zero disruptive innovation. Pure, consistent execution of standard operating procedures.
He standardized his processes down to the millimeter, and he replicated them across multiple locations.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, John Derry understood a fundamental truth about the consumer. Customers don't want a technological marvel when they wash their car.
They just want a clean car.
They want a clean car, quickly, without having to do the manual labor themselves. Furthermore, he leaned into the single most powerful tool for an owner seeking to maximize valuation, the membership model.
Oh, the membership model is genius, and it completely changes the math. You pay a subscription, say between $20 and $40 a month, and you can run your car through the wash whenever you want.
Some months, a customer might go 4 times. Some months, they might forget and not go at all.
But for the owner, why is this so critical?
Because it transforms weather-dependent, highly unpredictable daily sales into a guaranteed, predictable monthly revenue stream. If it rains for 2 weeks straight, a traditional car wash makes $0.
Right, nobody washes their car in the rain.
A subscription car wash still collects 100% of its membership fees. Rain or shine, the cash flows.
That's incredible.
But even more importantly, recurring revenue drastically increases the valuation multiple of the business. If you ever want to sell that car wash, a business with unpredictable daily cash might sell for 2 or 3 times its earnings. A business with thousands of locked-in subscriptions might sell for 5, 6, or 7 times its earnings because the risk for the buyer is so much lower.
That is the ultimate hallmark of the owner mindset. Building systems and revenue models that completely decouple your income from your direct physical labor and external unpredictable variables like the weather.
And the truly incredible thing is, the modern digital tools available today make this transition from solo operator to systemized owner easier and cheaper than at any point in human history. We have to look at the Small Business Administration data for 2026 that's highlighted because the numbers paint a staggering picture.
The SBA data provides a deeply optimistic forecast for this specific, unglamorous sector of the economy. According to the projections for 2026, 94% of small business owners in these sectors project growth.
The analysis notes this is the highest confidence number ever recorded.
79% anticipate increased revenue. But the most staggering statistic to me, the one that really signals a shift, is this. 56% are already using artificial intelligence to optimize their operations.
This raises a very important question, though, and we need to be incredibly precise about what AI actually means in the context of boring physical service businesses.
Right, because when the average person hears AI, they think of generative art or language models writing code or like humanoid robots.
Terminator stuff.
Exactly. If
Yeah.
I'm running an appliance repair business, which, by the way, the data notes is incredibly lucrative right now because fixing a fridge costs $200 while buying a new one costs $1,500 to $3,000 due to massive inflation. Is AI going to come into the kitchen and fix the dishwasher?
No. The wrench turning, the physical manipulation of the real world cannot be easily digitized or automated.
The physical work is safe.
The aging master technicians who are currently retiring and leaving a massive, highly profitable gap in the market are not being replaced by robots. The physical service remains intensely, necessarily human.
So where exactly does the AI come in for the guy with the wrench?
AI is automating the intricate, time-consuming systems that used to require an entire corporate back office of administrative staff.
Like what?
It is utilizing dynamic routing software to optimize the technician's driving path, minimizing gas usage and maximizing the number of calls they can hit in a day. It is handling the initial customer service inquiries via intelligent chatbots that can actually book appointments.
Oh, wow.
It is automating the dispatching, the invoicing, and the crucial follow-up text messages asking for Google reviews.
Ah, so a single person in a van, armed with a tablet and these modern software tools, can now operate with the logistical efficiency and customer response time of a 10-person corporate team from 20 years ago.
Exactly. The technology isn't replacing the blue-collar worker. It is supercharging the solo operator. It allows them to scale their administrative capacity to infinity without ever increasing their payroll overhead.
That makes the tech-enabled solo operator incredibly dangerous to bigger, slower legacy competitors. Now, aside from software automation, the analysis also talks about literal mechanical automation, businesses that are essentially just physical robots sitting in a room collecting money.
Vending machines and ATMs. The ultimate low-friction, scalable physical models.
Vending machines are fascinating because the entry point is so manageable. You can start with less than $10,000 for a couple of refurbished machines. A single, well-placed machine generates around $30,000 a year with 30% profit margins.
But the real wealth, as the data shows, comes from the portfolio approach. The analysis mentions operators making $700,000 a year, and they're working just 2 days a week.
The math on a $700,000 return requires aggressive scaling. They aren't doing that with one machine in a break room.
Not at all.
They have a fleet of 30 to 50 machines placed in highly strategic, high-foot traffic locations, massive gym complexes, corporate hotels, sprawling office parks.
The operator's only real job is B2B negotiation for the placement, optimizing the inventory logistics and collecting the revenue. No employees to manage, no office lease to pay.
And the twist that the analysis points out, which elevates this from a side hustle to an empire, is specialty vending.
Yes, the niches.
We aren't just talking about a machine selling a dusty bag of chips and a generic soda. We are talking about highly targeted, high-margin niches.
That is a masterclass in margin optimization.
Exactly. Placing high-end beauty product machines in upscale salons, live bait machines at major fishing lakes, premium electronics machines selling headphones and chargers inside airport terminals.
The underlying logic is brilliant. The more specific the niche and the more captive the audience, the lower your competition.
And consequently, the higher the margin you can command. You aren't competing with the corner gas station for a $1 candy bar.
You are selling a $50 phone charger to a desperate traveler whose phone just died before a 6-hour flight. The price elasticity in that moment is massive.
They'll pay whatever it costs.
Mm-hmm.
And ATMs operate on a very similar principle of convenience and captive audience, right?
Very similar. You buy a machine for $2,000 to $3,000. You negotiate placement in a cash-heavy environment, a dive bar, a barbershop, a local convenience store.
You charge a $2 to $3 surcharge per transaction, And that single machine generates $500 to $1,500 a month in purely passive income.
You scale that to 10 or 15 machines, and you have serious hands-off cash flow.
But as powerful as those automated machines are, the analysis saves the most sophisticated, high-leverage model for last.
This is where the concept of leverage truly peaks.
Yes, the 20th business on the list, the wash and fold delivery service. The analysis explicitly tells us this is the one to remember because it elegantly combines everything we've talked about today.
Recurring income, low competition, permanent demand, and the modern consumer's premium on convenience.
This model is a direct application of a powerful concept articulated by Walker Deibel in his book, Buy Then Build. It is the concept of the acquisition business, but applied to logistics.
Break that down for us, because partnering to do laundry delivery doesn't sound like a traditional acquisition, and the mechanics here are a bit counterintuitive.
Okay, so in a traditional business model, you have to build the massive capital infrastructure yourself. You rent the commercial storefront, you buy the expensive commercial washing machines, you pay for the massive utility upgrades for water and gas.
That's a lot of overhead.
In a logistics-based acquisition model, you don't build the infrastructure. You leverage the multi-million-dollar infrastructure that already exists. You find a traditional physical laundromat that someone else owns, perhaps an owner who is tired and just wants passive machine income, and you partner with them to use their downtime capacity at a wholesale rate.
Okay, so you don't own the building and you don't own the machines. What is your actual business then? What are you selling?
Your business is entirely the logistics bridge. You offer the pickup and delivery service to the end customer.
Oh, I see.
We live in an era where affluent professionals will gladly pay a significant premium to reclaim their time. They already pay for grocery delivery, dog walking, and house cleaning. The demand for outsourced full-service laundry is exploding. But you have to master the logistics, specifically the chain of custody.
Chain of custody. That's the real product, isn't it?
Exactly. People are handing you their personal garments. You need software to track the bags, ensure nothing is lost, and manage the specific washing preferences. You aren't just driving a van, you are managing a precise logistical loop.
Let's look at the unit economics the data provides, because it is stunning. An operator who secures 100 recurring clients, families, or busy professionals paying between $30 and $50 a week for wash and fold delivery is generating between $12,000 and $20,000 a month in gross revenue.
It's huge.
And because you are buying the machine time at wholesale, you keep a 30 to 40% net margin just for providing the convenience of the logistics bridge.
You are capturing nearly half the value of the entire transaction without holding an ounce of the heavy capital risk. No storefront roof to repair, no commercial machines to maintain. You are utilizing someone else's depreciating asset to fulfill a premium service, and most importantly, you own the customer relationship.
It's brilliant. You combine business number one, the incredibly stable but capital-intensive laundromat, with modern tech-enabled logistics, and you create a high-margin, cash-flowing asset out of thin air.
And the analysis notes that in most mid-sized to large cities, this specific door-to-door service barely even exists yet. The path is wide open for a system-focused owner.
It requires absolutely no technological invention. It only requires you to observe an existing, boring process and inject the massive added value of convenience and reliability.
So what does this all mean? We have journeyed through a massive amount of territory today.
We really have.
We've looked at everything from a $3,500 driveway washing setup and the legal requirements of parking lot striping to the recurring revenue of pest control and multi-million-dollar automated car washes.
We've looked at the devastating ego trap of Daniel wasting $36,000 on software subscriptions while waiting for the perfect, glamorous idea.
While Alex built a resilient six-figure pressure washing business with shaking hands, a cheap truck, and a willingness to knock on doors.
The overarching synthesis of all this data is undeniable. The businesses with the highest growth projections for 2026, the highest 5-year survival rates, and the most consistent wealth generation are not the technologically disruptive VC-funded startups we see celebrated in the media.
They're the businesses that solve real, tangible, physical friction in the real world today.
Clothes will always get dirty. Cars will always get dirty. Pests will always invade our homes. Trash will always pile up.
It is the unglamorous, everyday friction of daily life that creates the most reliable, unshakable economic engines.
And as a final provocative thought, I want to draw your attention to one specific statistic hidden near the very end of the source material. It profoundly reframes how we view our entire economy.
What's the stat?
The text notes that there are currently 36 million small businesses registered in the United States.
36 million. That's a massive ecosystem.
Yes. And of those 36 million businesses, a staggering 82% are operated by a single person.
Think about that. Over 29 million solo operators.
Think about the narrative we are constantly fed by the media and our culture. We are told that the future belongs entirely to massive, faceless megacorporations and trillion-dollar tech conglomerates.
We are told the little guy can't compete.
But look at the actual data. 82% of all businesses are lone wolves. The true underlying resilience in our economy isn't trickling down from Silicon Valley boardrooms. It is bubbling up from the massive, decentralized army of solo operators fixing washing machines, striping parking lots, cleaning pools, and hauling scrap metal.
If the digital world crashes tomorrow or the algorithm changes, the app developer goes broke.
But the person who knows how to clear a physical lot or repair a broken water line or manage a termite infestation becomes king.
You do not need venture capital investors, you do not need a viral marketing campaign, and you do not need anyone's permission to be part of that reality. Millions of people have already quietly made that decision.
That is incredibly powerful, the sheer resilience of the lone wolf economy.
So to you, listening right now, stop waiting for the idea of the century. Stop worrying about what looks good on a LinkedIn profile or an Instagram feed. Look around your physical neighborhood. Pick one unglamorous problem that creates friction. Embrace the psychological discomfort of being a beginner and get your hands dirty.
Remember that 50 or 60-something person we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive? The one who travels, has zero stress, and owes nothing to anyone.
They didn't get there by chasing glamour or viral fame. They got there by mastering the boring. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Go out there and find your laundromat. It is 2:17 in the morning, and there's this man named Ray living down in Tampa, Florida, and he is fast asleep.
Right.
His wife is asleep next to him. The family dog is asleep at the foot of the bed. But across town, and this is the crazy part, across town, 34 of his washing machines are spinning in a laundromat that he hasn't physically visited in 9 days.
9 days, wow.
Yeah, and while he's dreaming, his phone buzzes twice on the nightstand. Just, two little payment notifications. One for $14.50 and another for $18.75.
Nice little wake-up present.
Exactly. Because by the time Ray's alarm finally goes off at 6:30 a.m., his business has already made him $387.
And he hasn't even had his coffee yet.
He hasn't even poured the coffee. And look, Ray isn't some tech billionaire. He didn't invent a groundbreaking app. He just fundamentally understands the mechanics of decoupling his time from his income.
Which is exactly what we're looking at today.
Right. And that brings us to the core mission of this deep dive. We're looking at a really comprehensive breakdown from the YouTube channel John's Vault. Specifically, we're analyzing 11 business models designed to generate money while you sleep in 2026.
Yes.
Okay, let's unpack this because that phrase, make money while you sleep, it gets thrown around on social media so often that it almost triggers like an automatic eye roll, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like someone is about to sell me a terrible course.
It really does. The phrase has been weaponized by a lot of questionable marketing over the last decade or so. It has a very high, too good to be true quotient.
Yeah.
But that skepticism usually stems from a basic misunderstanding of the fundamental definition. People hear, make money while you sleep, and their brain automatically translates that to make money with zero work.
Which is definitely not the case.
Exactly. That is the crucial distinction we have to establish right away before we look at any of these 11 models. It does not mean no work. It means front-loading the effort. The work and the earning are happening at two completely different points in time. You might work intensely on a Tuesday, right? To build a system or configure software or place a physical machine.
Yeah.
And then that system earns money on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, straight through the weekend, while you were doing something else entirely.
So the labor is totally divorced from the actual moment of the transaction. I mean, I do the work in May, but the customer swipes their credit card in August.
Precisely. Think about a traditional job for a second. You are trading 1 hour of your time for an agreed-upon amount of money.
The standard hourly wage.
Right. The labor and the transaction are inextricably linked. If you stop the labor, the transactions stop immediately. If you don't show up for your shift, you just don't get paid.
Yeah, the money spigot turns off.
Exactly. What we are looking at today are systems, whether they're digital files, physical machines, or commercial real estate, that handle the transaction autonomously after you've built or acquired them.
I really want to get into the specific businesses, especially the ones our sources say you can start with literally $0.
Yes, zero-cost models.
But before we get there, there's a story in the source material that I think we really need to look at first. It's this comparison between two people, Sarah and Alex.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Sarah and Alex paradigm is the perfect philosophical foundation for everything we're going to discuss today.
It really sets the stage.
It does. It perfectly contrasts the illusion of financial success with actual systemic leverage. So let's look at the baseline data from the source. Both of these people are 34 years old.
Okay.
Both wanted financial independence. Now, Sarah spent 2 years building up a freelance marketing agency. She has 8 solid clients, and she is currently billing $12,000 a month.
Which, I mean, on paper, that sounds fantastic.
It does.
12 grand a month as a freelancer is a massive win. I read that and immediately thought, well, okay, Sarah has figured it out.
She has figured out how to generate high revenue, yes. But the source points out the hidden, long-term trap in her model.
The trap, right?
Every single dollar of that $12,000 requires Sarah to be awake, present, and actively working on a client's project. She has essentially built a very high-paying, very stressful hamster wheel.
A gold-plated hamster wheel.
Exactly. If she decides to take a 2-week vacation, or, if she gets the flu, her revenue pipeline freezes instantly.
Because she isn't doing the manual labor.
Right. She represents manual labor. It is highly skilled manual labor, sure, but structurally, it is still a strict time for money exchange.
So she's still trading hours for dollars, just at a premium rate.
Precisely.
Which brings us to her cousin, Alex. Same age, 34. But Alex takes a completely different route. He doesn't start an agency.
No, he doesn't.
The source says he took $7,500 in savings and bought 3 used vending machines.
Just 3.
Yeah, just 3. He put them in a factory, a local gym, and a car dealership waiting room. And then month 1 rolls around, and those 3 machines generate a grand total of $100.
Right. And objectively, $100 for an entire month of business operation is not impressive at all.
No.
Sarah probably bills $100 in, 45 minutes of consulting?
Wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. Isn't Sarah objectively more successful in that first year? I mean, she's pulling in $12,000 a month, and Alex is making what I spend on groceries in 2 days.
It's a stark contrast, absolutely.
It feels like we're comparing someone planting a fast-growing weed that provides instant ground cover versus, I don't know, planting an oak tree that takes years to even look like a bush. $100 a month isn't changing Alex's life.
You are absolutely right that in year 1, Sarah is winning the cash flow game hands down.
By a mile.
The financial feedback loop for Alex is painfully slow at the beginning, but we have to evaluate the long-term stability of automated income compared to traditional employment.
The long game.
Yes. We have to look at the trajectory and, more importantly, the ultimate constraint. The ultimate constraint for any human being is sleep.
Because there are only 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. Sarah will eventually hit a ceiling where she physically cannot take on a 9th or 10th client without her quality of work suffering or her physical and mental health deteriorating. She cannot scale herself.
She is literally the bottleneck of her own business.
Exactly. Alex's model doesn't have that human bottleneck. By year 2, our source notes that Alex has reinvested his profits and scaled up to 22 machines across 2 cities.
Wow.
And his monthly revenue has hit $9,800.
And the source noted something wild about his schedule. He is only working on Mondays and Thursdays to drive around and restock the inventory.
That's it.
The other 5 days of the week, the machines are sitting there working, and he is not.
What's fascinating here is the psychological toll of the 2 different models, which the source illustrates beautifully with the concept of the midnight phone notification.
Oh, this was such a good analogy.
Picture this. It's midnight. Both Sarah and Alex are asleep. Both of their phones buzz on the nightstand.
Okay.
For Sarah, it's an email from a demanding client on the West Coast who's facing a deadline.
Immediate stress.
It induces panic, it induces stress, it forces her brain back into work mode when she should be resting.
Right.
But when Alex's phone buzzes at midnight, it is an automated payment notification from a cashless card reader on one of his vending machines. Someone just bought a bag of chips.
Same physical stimulus. A phone buzzing in the dark, but wildly different psychological impact.
Completely different.
I love that framing. The anxiety of the clock versus the peace of the system. One buzz means you owe someone your time. and the other buzz means a machine just captured value for you.
Exactly.
So we've established that Alex has modeled the automated system as the ultimate goal here. But let's look at the reality as a listener. Alex used $7.5 grand to start his engine.
Which is a decent chunk of change.
Right. What if I am listening to this and I have literally $0, empty pockets? I can't afford 3 used vending machines.
How do you transition from manual labor to an automated system if you have zero capital to deploy?
That is the most common barrier to entry, and it's why the source material categorizes these 11 business models by their startup costs.
Makes sense.
If you are starting from zero, listeners need to understand a fundamental economic trade-off. When you lack financial capital, you must compensate with massive amounts of sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
You are substituting money with time.
So, paying with my life hours instead of my bank account.
Exactly.
Let's dig into the first model in this zero-cost tier, digital product stores. The source notes this market is projected to hit $590 billion by 2028.
It's massive.
It is. But how does a digital product actually separate my time from my income?
The mechanics of digital products are arguably the purest form of decoupling on this list. A digital product is something you create exactly once, but you can sell an infinite number of times.
Because it's just a file. Right. The cost of reproduction is zero. We are talking about things like budget spreadsheets for Excel, Canva design templates for social media managers, printable daily planners.
Stock photography pack.
Yes, or comprehensive educational video courses.
So if I designed a really great budget spreadsheet, I build it one time on my laptop. There's no warehouse, there are no shipping labels, there's no physical inventory that can get ruined by a leaky roof.
None of that overhead.
But if a customer in Tokyo decides they want to buy my spreadsheet at 3 a.m. my time, how does the actual transaction happen while I'm sleeping?
You leverage third-party software platforms like Gumroad, Shopify, or Etsy. These platforms act as your automated cashier.
Okay.
The customer in Tokyo clicks buy. The platform's payment gateway processes their credit card, verifies the funds, and then automatically emails a secure download link containing your spreadsheet directly to the customer.
All while I'm asleep.
All while you're asleep. The platform takes a small percentage fee for facilitating the transaction, and the rest of the money is credited to your account. You wake up, check your dashboard, and the money is there.
You performed zero labor during the actual exchange of value.
Precisely zero.
And the math on this, according to the source, can compound beautifully. They gave a great example of a Canva template pack.
Let's hear it.
Let's say I design a really sleek, highly functional pack of social media templates for real estate agents. I price it at $27.
Okay.
If I can get the system to sell just 5 copies a day, that translates to over $4,000 a month.
Which is substantial passive income.
Or what about a more intensive product, like a specialized online course priced at $197?
If you sell just 3 of those higher ticket courses a week, you are bringing in over $2,500 a month.
Wow.
But the trick here, and we absolutely cannot gloss over this, is the sheer volume of upfront effort required.
The sweat equity you mentioned.
Exactly. You have to spend weeks or maybe months building the product. Then you have to optimize the sales page, write the marketing copy, and figure out the search engine optimization.
You have to build the entire machine before a single dollar comes in.
Yes. You are betting your uncompensated time that the market will eventually find and value what you created.
Right, which sounds incredibly risky from a time perspective. But what if I don't want to design spreadsheets or film courses? What about physical products?
That brings us to the next zero-cost option.
The source talks about print-on-demand e-commerce. It says it's a $45.6 billion market by 2031. But wait, how can physical products cost $0 to start? Don't I need to buy T-shirts and a printing press?
That is the genius of the print-on-demand or POD mechanism. You don't need a factory, and you never touch the inventory.
Okay, how does that work?
You use your laptop to design a graphic, maybe a funny phrase or a unique illustration. You then upload that graphic to a third-party POD platform like Printful, Printify, or Redbubble. You select which blank products you want your design offered on T-shirts, coffee mugs, phone cases, whatever. The platform generates digital mock-ups of your design on those products, which you then list on your digital storefront.
So I just have pictures of shirts that don't actually exist yet.
Exactly. They are purely digital representations.
So what happens when someone actually buys one?
When a customer orders that t-shirt at midnight, the transaction details are automatically routed via an API and application programming interface directly to the POD company's printing facility.
The robots take over.
Basically, yes. The platform's automated machines print your design onto a blank shirt, their staff packages it, and they ship it directly to your customer with your brand name on the label.
Okay, so they handle the manufacturing and fulfillment entirely while I'm asleep. How do I get paid?
You collect a royalty. The customer pays, say, $25 for the shirt. The POD platform keeps $15 for the base cost of the blank shirt, the printing ink, and the shipping.
And I get the rest.
You keep the remaining $10 as pure profit.
That sounds almost too easy. I mean, just upload a funny cat design and wait for the money to roll in.
It sounds effortless, but this is where the source material provides a crucial reality check.
There's always a catch.
One design does not make a business. 10 designs do not make a business. To truly replace your income with print on demand, you are building a volume-based machine.
How much volume we're talking about?
You need to upload 500 to 2,000 active, well-researched designs across multiple platforms to see consistent daily sales volume.
2,000 designs.
Yes.
That is a mountain of upfront work. I'd be sitting at my laptop for months just churning out graphics before I saw any real money.
Exactly. The source breaks down the math to show why volume is necessary. If you have 800 active designs, and across all 800, you average just 2 sales per day total.
Just 2 sales a day out of 800 designs.
Right. At an $8 profit margin each, you are making about $480 a month.
Okay, so the math scales, but it takes forever to build the catalog.
The work happens entirely upfront. The earning happens indefinitely as the platform algorithms eventually show your designs to shoppers. But the sheer volume of digital spaghetti you have to throw at the wall to see what sticks is immense.
It's like you're setting up thousands of tiny little digital fishing poles in a massive ocean and just waiting for a bite.
That's a great way to look at it.
Which actually brings me to the third model in this low capital tier automated online advertising, specifically through niche blogs. This one fascinated me because it relies entirely on answering the weird questions people ask search engines in the middle of the night.
This model is a fascinating study in capturing passive search intent. You spend maybe $50 to $200 a year on a website domain and hosting.
Very cheap.
Right. You pick a highly specific niche pest control tips for organic gardens, reviews of high-end espresso machines, or budget travel guides for Eastern Europe, and then you spend months writing highly detailed articles optimized for Google search.
And then I put ads on the site.
Yes, through a network like Google AdSense or a premium network like Mediavine. Once you have enough traffic, you insert a small piece of code into your website.
Okay.
When someone lands on your page, the ad network runs a split-second automated auction behind the scenes, allowing advertisers to bid for the rate to show their ad to your specific reader.
Like a micro auction.
Exactly. The winning ad is displayed, and you make a fraction of a cent. All of this happens in milliseconds, completely autonomously.
And the overnight math on this is really compelling, according to the source. If you can build a site that gets 100,000 monthly page views, and your ad network pays you $25 per 1,000 views. Wait, explain that metric to me. The source called it RPM.
Yes. RPM stands for revenue per mil, which is Latin for thousand. It basically represents how much money you earn for every 1,000 page views.
Okay, so why do advertisers pay that?
Advertisers pay this because they want highly targeted eyeballs. If someone is reading your article titled Best Espresso Machines Under $500, an appliance brand knows that reader has very high purchase intent.
They're ready to buy an espresso machine right then.
Right. They will gladly pay a premium to put an ad on that specific page. So if your RPM is $25 and you get 100,000 views, that site generates $2,500 a month.
Because Google doesn't close at 5:00 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is always searching for how to fix a leaky faucet at midnight, or, best portable generator at 3 a.m.
Precisely. The information serves the user, the algorithm serves the ad, and you collect the revenue without ever interacting with the reader.
Okay, but here is my pushback on this entire zero-cost tier.
Let's hear it.
We call it zero financial risk, but it carries a massive time risk. The source explicitly states for the blog model that it requires 6 to 18 months of consistent unpaid content creation before meaningful search traffic arrives.
That is the reality.
18 months of working for free. I kept thinking about this while reading the notes. It feels like building a massive hydroelectric dam by moving rocks by hand.
That is a very apt analogy. Expand on that.
Well, you're out there every day, sweating, moving heavy rocks, building this concrete structure, completely unpaid. You are putting in all this manual labor.
Right.
But you do it because you know that once the dam is built, you never have to move a rock again. Gravity and water do the work forever.
Yes.
In this scenario, Google's search algorithm is the river. Once your articles finally rank on page 1, the traffic just flows through your digital turbine, generating ad revenue day and night.
That perfectly explains the mechanism, and it highlights why the effort required for the initial setup is so disproportionately huge compared to the ongoing maintenance.
Right.
Once the content ranks, it might generate revenue for years with almost zero upkeep. You might only need to update the article once a year. But this brings up a critical point about risk. The financial risk is zero. If the blog fails, you are out $50 for a domain name.
But the psychological risk is monumental.
Exactly.
Because what if I move rocks for 17 months and then I just give up?
Quitting at month 17, right before the search algorithms finally start trusting your site and sending traffic, is the biggest danger. It requires a level of delayed gratification and psychological endurance that most people simply do not possess.
It's a grind. So let's say I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, I do not have the patience to write blog posts for 18 months for free.
Many people don't.
I want to bypass that massive time grind. If I have a little bit of capital saved up, how do I buy my way into immediate cash flow?
That transitions us perfectly into the second tier, the micro-scale physical fleet. We are talking about models that require roughly $2,000 to $10,000 in startup costs.
Okay, stepping up the ladder.
You are moving from digital assets to physical assets in the real world. This is where we return to Alex and his vending machines, but the source also introduces a highly lucrative cousin ATM ownership.
The private ATM market. The source noted there are approximately 470,000 privately owned ATMs in the United States. I always assumed banks owned all the ATMs.
A lot of people do. But the vast majority of the cash machines you see in convenience stores, dive bars, laundromats, and nail salons are owned by small, independent operators running routes of maybe 5 to 30 machines.
Okay, I want to break down the actual economics of a single ATM because the mechanism is shockingly straightforward.
It really is.
Tell me if I have this right based on the source. I buy a machine for $2,000 to $8,000.
Correct.
I negotiate with a business owner to place it in their high-traffic location. I go to my business bank account, withdraw my own money, and physically load it into the machine.
Yeah.
And every single time a customer withdraws cash, I collect a surcharge fee, usually between $2.50 and $4.
That is exactly how the mechanism works. It is a pure arbitrage of convenience. And if you place that ATM, well, let's say it processes 150 to 300 transactions a month. At a $3 average surcharge, that single piece of hardware is generating $450 to $900 a month in gross revenue.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there. If you build a portfolio of 10 machines over a few years, you are looking at $4,500 to $9,000 monthly.
But I'm still doing labor, right? I have
Yeah.
to put the money in.
Yes, but the ongoing maintenance labor is minimal. The source estimates 5 to 8 hours a week for a route of that size.
That's practically nothing.
Mostly, you are just driving your route, restocking the cash that the machine dispersed, and replacing the receipt paper. When a customer withdraws $40, that $40 plus the $3 surcharge is electronically deposited back into your bank account the next business day by the processing network.
So your capital is constantly recycling itself.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The source points out the night shift dynamic of ATMs. These machines make the vast majority of their money between 9:00 p.m. and 2:00 a.m.
The prime hours.
Think about the mechanics of that. You place a machine in a busy nightclub, a local dive bar, or next to a late-night cash-only food truck. When people need cash at 1:00 a.m. for a cab or to buy a slice of pizza, they do not care about a $3 surcharge.
Not at all.
They aren't going to walk 4 blocks in the dark to find their specific bank. They are paying for immediate convenience. So your highest earning hours are literally the exact hours you are at home, fast asleep in your bed.
It's perfect alignment.
The machine is glowing in the corner of a crowded bar, collecting $3 fees for you while you dream.
If we look at the underlying logic, both ATMs and vending machines are ultimately businesses of geography and convenience. You are not creating the demand.
Yeah.
You are not running Facebook ads to convince people to use your ATM. You are simply monetizing existing foot traffic that you didn't have to generate yourself. You are capturing a tiny slice of the economic activity that is naturally happening in that specific physical space.
And the vending machine works the exact same way, right? The source says it's a $2 billion industry. A machine costs $3,000 to $10,000.
Yes.
You place it in a hospital break room, a factory floor, or a college dorm. It generates $300 to $800 a month, with profit margins sitting comfortably between 30% and 50%.
Consistent returns.
The night shift worker buying a Red Bull at 1:00 a.m., or the exhausted nurse grabbing a bag of chips at 4 a.m., they're funding your asset while you sleep. But keep coming back to the physical labor aspect.
That's a valid concern.
Even if it's only 5 hours a week, I still have to physically drive to a hospital at some point and put bags of chips into slots. How do I scale this without just creating a glorified delivery job for myself?
That is the pivotal challenge of the microfleet model. Scaling requires a deliberate transition from manual labor to a fully automated system. You don't just wake up and buy 40 machines.
Right.
You develop a roadmap. The source mentions a Reddit operator active in the sweaty startup community. He scaled to 42 vending machines across 3 counties.
Wow, 42 machines.
And he is clearing $8,400 a month in pure profit after all expenses.
And he only works Tuesdays and Fridays to restock. How do you get to that point from zero?
You build a 3-year roadmap for expanding from 1 machine to a full fleet. Year 1 is about proof of concept and reinvestment. You take your initial capital and buy 2 machines.
Start small.
Right. They generate a few $100s a month. Crucially, instead of spending that money on lifestyle upgrades, you save every penny of profit until you can buy machine number 3, then machine number 4.
The snowball effect.
Exactly. During this phase, you are also establishing your route density, meaning you are actively trying to secure locations that are geographically close together to minimize your driving time.
Because if I have a machine on the north side of town and one on the south side, I'm wasting my margins on gas and windshield time.
Exactly. You're losing efficiency.
Okay, so what is phase 2?
Phase 2, usually year 2, is aggressive expansion. Now that you have proven cash flow and a track record, you might take out a small business loan or use equipment financing to jump from 5 machines to 20. You saturate your established route.
Okay.
Then phase 3, year 3, is where the true automation happens. Optimization through software.
This is where the source mentioned telemetry software. I saw that word, but how does that actually change my Tuesday morning?
Telemetry completely changes the labor equation. Instead of driving to a machine just to see if it needs more Diet Coke, every machine is equipped with a cellular card reader that talks directly to an app on your phone via an API ping.
It calls home.
Exactly. Before you even leave your house on Tuesday morning, the software tells you exactly which 4 machines out of your 30 need restocking and exactly which items they need.
That's incredible.
It pre-routes your drive for maximum efficiency. You transition from guessing and manual labor to highly targeted, data-driven inventory replacement. You just eliminated 15 hours of driving a week.
That is brilliant leverage. But even with telemetry telling me exactly where to go, ATMs and vending machines still require me to physically transport physical goods.
True.
It's low labor, but it is definitively not zero labor. What if I want to eliminate the inventory entirely? What if I never want to touch a bag of chips or a stack of $20 bills again?
To eliminate inventory and further detach your time from the revenue, you have to move up the food chain into the medium capital tier.
The big leagues.
Getting closer, yes. We are talking about investments ranging from $15,000 up into the millions. This is where we encounter the immense power of the captive audience and the leverage of automated software.
Let's explore the captive audience first, because the psychology of this model is fascinating. The source highlights coin-operated laundry equipment, but specifically inside apartment buildings.
Yes, this is a key distinction.
Notice this is not a standalone laundromat on a street corner. This is a model where you, the operator, approach an apartment building owner and pitch them a revenue share agreement.
Yes, the pitch is essentially, your tenants need laundry facilities. I will purchase commercial-grade washers and dryers and install them in your basement.
Okay.
You provide the physical space, the electricity, and the water. I provide the machines and handle any maintenance, and we split the gross revenue.
The source says the startup cost per building is roughly $15,000 to $40,000 for the commercial-grade machines. Every time a tenant watches and dries a load, they pay $2 to $5.
Right.
A building with 50 units can generate $1,500 to $4,000 a month. And your share, as the operator, is typically 50% to 70% of that gross revenue.
Which means you are netting maybe $750 to $2,800 a month from one single building.
And why is this specific model so stable? Why does it generate such consistent income while you sleep?
Because of the captive audience mechanics.
Right. Think about the tenant at 11:30 p.m. who suddenly realizes they spilled coffee on their only white shirt and they have a major job interview the next morning.
A classic emergency.
They are not going to get in their car, drive through the snow, and try to find a 24-hour laundromat across town. They're going to walk down the hall or take the elevator down to the basement and use your machine.
They have no other viable option in that moment of high friction.
Exactly. You install the machines, you secure a 5 to 7 year auto-renewing contract with the property owner, and you walk away.
The machine collects the money 24 hours a day, fulfilling a basic human necessity. It is exactly like the ATM, but instead of dispensing cash, it dispenses clean clothes. You have no perishable inventory, and you have a guaranteed captive customer base that literally sleeps in the same building as your equipment.
And that concept of a captive audience scales dramatically when we look at the next business in this tier, self-storage facilities. The source notes this is a $45 billion industry in the U.S.
It's massive.
Nearly 1 in 8 American households currently rents a storage unit.
The startup costs here obviously take a massive leap. We are no longer talking about 15 grand. We are talking $1.5 to $5 million to build a brand new facility, or maybe $500,000 to $2 million to acquire an existing underperforming one.
Heavy upfront cost.
But the mechanics of how a storage facility makes money while you sleep are incredible, largely because of the recurring revenue model.
The source said the average tenant stays for over 14 months. Think about that. That is 14 months of automatic recurring revenue from a customer who signed a digital form exactly one time on their phone, moved their couch into a metal box, and set up autopay.
Self-storage is perhaps the most rapidly automating industry on this entire list. Modern facilities can, and increasingly do, operate with zero on-site staff.
No humans at all.
The entire customer journey is handled by software integrations and electronic hardware.
Walk me through that journey. If I want a storage unit at 2:00 a.m., how does the owner capture my money without being awake?
You, the customer, pull up the facility's website on your phone. You select a 10 by 10 unit and enter your credit card. The facility's management software processes the payment, automatically assigns you a specific unit number, and emails you a unique gate access code.
All instant.
You drive up to the facility, punch your code into the electronic keypad, the gate opens, you drive to your unit, unlock it, unload your boxes, and leave. There was absolutely no human interaction at any point in that process. The owner was asleep, yet they just secured a new customer who will likely stay for over a year.
Now, here's where I want to pause, because there is a specific mechanism mentioned in the text regarding self-storage that blew my mind.
Late fees.
Late fees. We all hate them as consumers, but from an automated business perspective, the mechanics are wild.
Yeah.
Let's say a tenant is paying $150 a month and they are 5 days late because their debit card expired.
This happens all the time.
The facility software automatically flags the account and slaps a $20 late fee on their balance. At the same time, the software automatically deactivates their gate code so they can't access their stuff until they pay.
This raises an important question. How do passive revenue streams impact margins? This is a prime example. Let's do the math on that automated action.
Okay.
If you have a facility with 200 units and you have a 15% late payment rate, which is fairly standard in the industry, you have 30 people getting hit with a $20 fee. The software just collected an extra $600 a month.
And how many extra labor hours did the owner have to put in to collect that $600?
Yeah.
Zero.
None.
They didn't have to call the tenant. They didn't have to send a physical letter. They didn't have to have an uncomfortable confrontation at a front desk. The computer just adds the fee, locks the gate, and eventually the tenant goes online and pays it to get their stuff out.
It's ruthless efficiency. The profit margins for self-storage already sit at a very healthy 30% to 50%, but they're vigorously protected and even inflated by this automated software enforcement.
It's amazing.
It is the ultimate expression of the rule-based system. You design the business rules once. If payment is late by 5 days, trigger fee, lock gate, and the software enforces those rules infinitely, without fatigue, without emotion, and without a salary.
Right.
And this reliance on heavy infrastructure and smart software transitions us perfectly to the apex predators of the sleep money ecosystem. The heavy hitters: brick, mortar, asphalt, and massive margins.
We are talking about the high capital tier. Hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to enter, but the absolute dollar returns are staggering. Let's start with Ray, the guy from our intro down in Pampa.
The laundromat owner.
He owns a standalone laundromat. This is a $6.8 billion industry.
And the most vital statistic the source provides about laundromats isn't the total revenue, though that is impressive, at $150,000 to $300,000 annually per location.
Just the survival rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The industry boasts a 95% survival rate over a 5-year period.
95%. I mean, compare that to the restaurant industry, which is notoriously brutal and sits at roughly a 20% survival rate. Why is the laundromat so invincible?
Because the machines do the physical labor, and they don't complain, they don't unionize, they don't burn the food, and they don't call in sick.
They just spin.
Net profit margins run between 20% and 35%. And just like self-storage, modern laundromats are increasingly employee-less operations. They run on central kiosk card systems or mobile apps. No one is walking around with quarters anymore.
Right. The source mentioned that if a washing machine breaks down, the owner gets an automated text alert. Ray checks a dashboard on his iPad while he's eating dinner, sees the revenue rolling in, and maybe visits the location twice a week to wipe down the folding tables and empty the lint traps.
Low touch, high return.
Every single person within a 3-mile radius who doesn't have in-unit laundry is a guaranteed repeat customer every single week.
But if we are truly analyzing high-margin, automated physical spaces, we have to look closely at the automated car wash. This industry is valued at over $15 billion. And we need to be specific. We are talking about the express tunnel washes where no human being touches the vehicle.
Right. This isn't the full-service place where a team of 5 guys is vacuuming your floor mats and hand-drying your hood with microfiber towels.
Not at all.
This is the model where you pull up to a kiosk, swipe your credit card, the gate lifts, and you sit in a tunnel for 4 minutes while giant automated brushes and brightly colored neon soap do all the work.
It's mesmerizing.
It is. The source states a single automated location can generate between $500,000 and $1.5 million in annual revenue. And the operating margins, 30% to 50%.
Huge margins.
Because, again, the labor cost is virtually non-existent. You might have one attendant on site just to make sure no one crashes inside the tunnel.
The margins are high, but the startup costs are massive. Building an express tunnel requires extensive water reclamation systems, expensive commercial real estate, and complex machinery. It can cost anywhere from $800,000 to over $3 million.
Not a beginner play.
No. But the true genius of the modern car wash isn't the brushes or the water recycling, it's the billing model. They have fundamentally changed how the business makes money. It is the gym membership model applied to soap and water.
I noticed this in the source material. Every new car wash pushes these unlimited monthly wash passes for $25 to $50 a month.
Exactly. Let's analyze why that subscription model works psychologically and mechanically to offset those massive fixed costs. Industry data shows that members, on average, only wash their car about 3.5 times a month.
So they aren't even using it that much.
But just like the gym, human nature and inertia take over. People sign up because they want a clean car, and then it rains or they get busy and they go 3 weeks without using the wash.
But they keep paying.
Yes. Their credit card is still being charged automatically via the software API every single month. The machine is sitting there, capturing recurring revenue, essentially collecting money for nothing, while the owner is at home watching television.
Now, I want to compare that highly mechanized subscription model to what is probably the oldest sleep money business in human history, rental property income.
Real estate.
The U.S. residential rental market generates over $600 billion annually. The source actually quotes the author Morgan Housel from his book Same as Ever. The most powerful financial asset is something that earns money while you're not paying attention.
A great quote.
And physical real estate seems to be exactly that. You buy a house, a tenant lives in it, and they pay you $1,400 every month while you travel, while you sleep, while you're sitting in the dentist's chair.
That is the ideal scenario, yes. But we have to evaluate the long-term stability and true passivity of this model compared to the others.
Is it really passive?
Is a rental property truly passive? If a water pipe bursts in the bathroom at 3 a.m., the tenant isn't calling an automated API, they're calling the human landlord. They are waking you up.
Which completely destroys the piece of the system we talked about earlier with Alex's vending machines.
Completely.
And this is where the direct comparison between rental properties and automated car washes gets really revealing.
Yeah.
To make a rental property truly passive, to make it genuinely earn while you sleep without midnight panic calls, you have to hire a property management company.
Right.
You have to hand over 8% to 12% of your gross monthly rent to humans to deal with the other humans.
Correct. The property manager screens the tenants. They take the 3 a.m. maintenance calls. They coordinate the plumbers. They handle the uncomfortable eviction processes.
They do the dirty work.
But you are sacrificing a significant chunk of your profit margin to buy back your time and protect your sleep.
Whereas with the express car wash or the self-storage facility, you aren't paying a management company 10% of your gross revenue.
No.
You are paying a flat, predictable fee for a software subscription that runs the electronic gates and processes the monthly billing. You are achieving those 30% to 50% margins with almost no humans involved at all. The software doesn't ask for a percentage of the gross. It just does its job perfectly every time.
Which logically brings us to the final business on the sources list.
Oh, this one is my favorite.
The one that the source claims creates more overnight wealth than almost anything else, yet it is so mundane that most of us walk right past it every single day without realizing its economic power.
Business number one, parking lots and parking garages.
Yes.
A $35 billion industry. And when you break down the mechanics, it is brilliantly simple. It is, at its absolute core, a slab of flat concrete with painted white lines. That's it.
Let's compare the friction points of a parking lot to every other business we've discussed. There are no employees to manage. There is no physical inventory to order or transport. There's no spoilage. A parking space doesn't go bad if no one uses it on a Tuesday. There are no returns and virtually no customer service complaints.
It's just a space.
It is simply a machine that prints a barcode ticket or a camera sensor that reads a license plate attached to a piece of heavily trafficked land.
Wait, let's look at the revenue numbers the source provided, because they are staggering. A small surface lot with just 50 spaces in a mid-sized city, charging $10 a day, generates $15,000 a month at full capacity.
Easy money.
An urban parking garage with 300 spaces at $20 a day, that is $180,000 a month at 100% occupancy. And the source points out, even if that garage is only 60% full, that is still over $100,000 in gross revenue every single month.
And we must look at the operating expenses to understand the margins. The operating costs for a surface lot are laughably low compared to a restaurant or a retail store. What are your major expenses?
Let's see.
You have to pay property taxes. You have to pay liability insurance. You might have to repave the asphalt every decade and hire someone to paint new white lines every few years. You pay the electric bill for the overhead lights.
There are no perishable goods. There's no complex equipment breaking down constantly, aside from maybe the entry gate arm.
Exactly.
At 3:30 in the morning, someone is parking at the airport lot for a red-eye flight. At midnight, someone is tapping their credit card at the exit gate to pay the garage fee after a late dinner downtown. The concrete slab earns money while the entire city sleeps.
This specific model perfectly encapsulates a core philosophy outlined by Walker Deibel in his book Buy Then Build, which the source explicitly references.
Oh, yeah.
He argues that for many people, the fastest and most secure path to financial freedom is not starting a business from scratch. It is not grinding through those 18 months of unpaid blog writing, hoping the algorithm favors you. It is acquiring an existing system like an undermanaged parking lot or an older self-storage facility that already generates proven cash flow, and then optimizing it with modern automation software.
So what does this all mean? We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've looked at 11 different businesses, spanning from literal $0 to $3 million in startup costs. If I am a listener trying to digest all of this, how do we synthesize these options?
I think the most practical way to synthesize the source material is to build a sort of audio comparison chart. We need to categorize each model by total startup costs, compare the financial risks, and clearly identify the ultimate trade-offs between the effort required for initial setup versus ongoing maintenance.
I love that. Let's build the chart. Okay. Category 1, zero cost, 100% sweat equity. This includes digital products, print on demand, and automated niche blogs.
Right.
The startup cost here is $0 to maybe $500. The margins are functionally infinite. because the cost of goods sold is zero once the digital asset is created.
And the trade-off.
Massive, massive time risk. You are paying with your life hours up front, working for free, just hoping the internet algorithms eventually favor your product. The initial setup effort is monumental, though the ongoing maintenance is near zero.
Spot on. Moving to category 2. Low cost, low maintenance. This is the microfleet model ATMs and vending machines.
All right.
The startup cost ranges from $2,000 to $10,000. The profit margins are solid, typically 30% to 50% after inventory costs.
And the trade-off for that one?
The trade-off here is physical limitation. Scaling requires securing new physical locations and eventually managing the logistics of a sprawling route. It is highly dependable cash flow, but your revenue is tightly bound to physical geography and your willingness to drive.
Category 3, medium cost, high stability. This tier includes apartment laundry routes and down payments on single-family rental properties.
The middle ground.
Startup costs are generally $15,000 to $50,000. The margins are heavily protected by captive audiences and fundamental human needs. Everyone needs clean clothes and a warm place to sleep. The trade-off.
Yeah.
You are dealing with longer-term contracts, potential property damage, and the absolute necessity of hiring property managers or performing occasional, unpredictable physical maintenance yourself.
Finally, category 4, high cost, ultimate passive. This is the realm of the apex predators. Automated car washes, self-storage facilities, and parking lots.
The big ones.
Startup costs are steep $500,000 to $3 million plus. The margins are exceptionally high because human labor is virtually eliminated by software.
And the trade-off is just the sheer cost of entry.
Right, the massive financial barrier to entry and the complex financing required. But once you acquire the asset, these are the models that yield the highest absolute dollar returns while you are quite literally sleeping.
And as I look across this entire chart we just built, what ties every single one of these models together, from the $27 Canva template to the $3 million parking garage, is the fundamental mechanical shift.
The decoupling.
Exactly. The labor is completely divorced from the transaction moment. The transaction does not happen between a customer and you. It happens between a customer and a machine, or a customer and a server, or a customer and a piece of software.
Exactly. By adopting these models, you are no longer Sarah, trapped by the ticking clock, dreading the midnight client email. You have built or bought a system that operates on a relentless 24-hour schedule, entirely independent of your personal energy levels or physical presence.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the goal today wasn't necessarily to convince you to go out and become a parking lot baron tomorrow morning, or to immediately start designing 2,000 t-shirts on your laptop tonight.
No, not at all.
The goal was to fundamentally change how you look at the architecture of your own income, and to evaluate the relationship between your time and your money.
But before we sign off, I want to leave the listener with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over.
Lay it on us.
We have spent the last hour talking entirely about money flowing to you while you sleep. But consider the other side of the ledger. Look at your own bank statements this month. Look at your credit card bill.
Oh.
How many automated recurring subscriptions, how many algorithmic late fees, how many convenient surcharges for using a random ATM at a bar are slowly draining from your accounts while you sleep?
Ouch.
How many of someone else's 11 automated businesses are you currently funding without even realizing it?
That is a phenomenal question to end on. Which side of the automated transaction are you actually on? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Tomorrow, as you go about your day, take a look around your city. Notice the vending machines in the break room, the electronic gates at the storage facility, the automated car washes you drive right past. Consider the invisible systems quietly humming away, capturing value while the rest of the world rests, and ask yourself which one you might want to own. See you next time. So if you want to build this high-margin, asset-light, B2B advertising network, you usually assume you need to start in a place like Silicon Valley, right?
Oh, absolutely. Or at least, in some sleek air-conditioned office in a major metropolitan hub.
Exactly. There's this massive, unwritten rule that we all just tend to accept about business and wealth. This idea that, serious money requires serious infrastructure and a big city zip code.
Yeah, it's a deeply ingrained part of our economic psychology. I mean, we tend to view rural areas purely as places of resource extraction.
Right, like where raw materials come from.
Exactly. We see them as the source of the materials, not necessarily as hubs for sophisticated, scalable business innovation.
Well, today we're going to completely dismantle that assumption. For this deep dive, we're pulling from a really fascinating YouTube video by a creator named Sajad Motivate 2.0.
Yeah, and on the surface, the video just explores, low investment rural business ideas.
But if you look closer, I mean, if you really dig into it, it's an absolute masterclass in high-level startup disruption. It's just applied to rural agriculture and retail instead of tech.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to decode the underlying mechanics of these businesses. We're going to examine how one pragmatic operator basically identified these severe local inefficiencies
Yeah.
and restructured the supply chain, and then systematically eliminated the catastrophic risks that are usually associated with traditional rural business models.
So the operator we're studying today is a young man from a village named Hasadul. And he was getting the standard conventional advice from everyone around him, which was basically, pack your bags, move to Dhaka, and take a grueling, low-paying factory job if you want to survive.
Right, the typical migration narrative.
Exactly. But Hasadul ignored that advice. He stayed in his village, and he was armed with a seed capital of just 15,000 to 20,000 taka.
And just to put that in perspective for you listening, we're talking about roughly 130 US dollars.
Yeah. Less than what a lot of people might spend on coffee in a single month.
It's basically nothing in the grand scheme of business capital.
Right. And from that tiny seed capital, he built 3 distinct business models that now generate a solid 80,000 taka in monthly profit.
Which is just an exceptional return on capital. I mean, it's staggering. But to understand the architecture of, how he actually achieved that, we need to start with his first venture.
Okay, yeah. Let's unpack this first one.
So he decided to navigate one of the most common yet structurally dangerous economic traps in village life, which is poultry farming.
I really want to focus on why it's so dangerous. Because starting a poultry farm is constantly pitched as this great rural development strategy, right?
Oh, all the time.
People take out loans from NGOs to buy the chickens, they build the physical coops, purchase the specialized feed. It all seems like a super straightforward path to income.
Until a biological variable enters the chat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A disease like bird flu or Ronniket sweeps through, and your entire investment literally dies overnight.
You're touching on a massive structural flaw here in how microfinance often interacts with agriculture. Because these NGO loans, they come with very rigid, unforgiving repayment schedules.
They don't care if your chickens got sick.
Right, they don't care at all. So when you combine high fixed debt obligations with extreme biological volatility, you basically create a recipe for financial ruin.
The farmer takes on all the capital expenditure and all the debt.
Yep, and nature dictates the outcome. If the flock dies, the asset is completely on, but the liability remains.
Which is just terrifying.
Yeah.
But Hasadul, he recognized that trap immediately. He looked at that setup and realized that owning the livestock was a losing game.
A total trap.
So he completely decoupled the production of the product from the profit of the product. He created this decentralized system the video calls a virtual poultry network.
And he did all of this without purchasing a single chicken, which is the genius part.
None. So how does he do it?
Well, when you don't own the physical means of production in an agricultural setting, the challenge becomes, how do you capture the value? Hasadul solved this by tapping into distributed, unmonetized resources that already existed right around him. He identified about 40 standard households in his own village and a neighboring one.
Just regular houses.
Just regular houses where women were already raising 3 or 4 local hens in their backyards for personal use.
Okay, so he didn't go to commercial farms. He went to these totally decentralized households.
Exactly. And he started visiting these 40 houses twice a week, purchasing their authentic local eggs with direct cash.
Oh, wow. So for the women raising the hens, this removes all friction.
All of it. They get
Yeah.
instant, reliable liquidity right at their doorstep. It completely eliminates the time and, the labor required to travel to a market.
So naturally, they stop routing their eggs anywhere else
Mm.
and funnel their entire supply exclusively to him.
He essentially cornered the local supply chain just by providing superior logistical convenience to these micro-producers.
But acquiring the supply is only half the battle, right? Because that leads to his first major obstacle.
Right, the market.
Yeah. When he attempted to take these baskets of eggs to the local village market to sell them, he just hit a brick wall.
What happened?
Well, first, the local agricultural trader syndicate stepped in. These are these tightly controlled networks of buyers who basically agree not to outbid each other.
So they effectively price gouged the producer.
Exactly. They offered him absolute bottom dollar prices. And second, he was trying to transport loose eggs in these woven baskets over notoriously terrible bumpy village roads on a bicycle.
Oh no, so they're breaking.
The physical product was breaking before it even reached the buyer, so his margins were just being destroyed by both market collusion and logistical failure.
Which means if he remains in that localized ecosystem, the business fails. He's getting squeezed by the middlemen on price, and he's bleeding inventory through transit damage.
He had to get out.
He needed a mechanism to bypass that local syndicate entirely.
And his pivot here is brilliant
Yeah.
because he attacks the problem through perceived value and packaging.
Okay, tell me what he does.
He leaves the village, travels to the city's wholesale market, and purchases professional, empty 12 cardboard egg cartons for 5 taka each.
Smart.
He brings these cartons back, securely packs the local eggs, and slaps on custom stickers that read, "Authentic Village Local Egg."
Think about the psychological shift that occurs with that simple packaging upgrade.
It's massive.
It reminds me of the classic Intel Inside marketing campaign from the 90s. I mean, he took a raw, hidden, commoditized agricultural good and he just wrapped it in a brand narrative.
Yeah, a carton with a custom sticker signals hygiene. It signals standardization.
And premium quality. It transitions the product into a consumer packaged good, which allows him to command a completely different price point.
Because he now has a premium product, he doesn't even bother with the local market. He rides straight past it to the sub-district town and targets a completely new demographic.
Who does he go after?
Government officials, doctors, large bakeries, premium sweet shops. He's knocking on doors and offering a solution to a specific pain point.
Which is what?
Well, these higher-income individuals, they want authentic, healthy village eggs, but they're stuck buying mass-produced commercial broiler eggs because they lack the time or the connections to source safely from the villages.
And Hassadul bridges that trust gap with a sealed professional box.
Exactly.
He successfully segmented his market. He shifted his distribution away from a low-income, highly price-sensitive demographic
The syndicates control everything.
to a higher-income demographic that values health and authenticity, and more importantly, has the disposable income to pay a premium for it.
So let's break down the math on this operation because it's so good. He buys the eggs from the village households for 150 taka a dozen.
Okay.
The professional carton and the transport overhead cost him about 10 taka total. So his landed cost is 160 taka per box.
Right.
He then sells those premium boxed eggs to the officials for 200 to 230 taka. He is pulling in 40 to 70 taka of pure margin per box.
And because he isn't waiting on, net 30 payment terms, the velocity of his capital is incredibly high.
Oh yeah, he turns his cash over multiple times a week.
So selling 100 boxes a week nets him 16,000 taka a month. He's running this entire operation on a rotating seed investment of just 15,000 taka.
It's incredible. He owns 0 chickens, buys no feed, takes on 0 disease risk, but he captures the premium retail margin.
It's the agricultural equivalent of de-risking the biological variable. You see massive multinational food corporations use similar contract farming models to avoid owning the land or the livestock.
Right.
Hassadul just applied that macroeconomic principle at a micro level while ensuring he retained total control over the brand and the final point of sale.
So having conquered his local supply chain and established this reliable cash flow, Hassadul was ready to reinvest.
Time to scale up.
But rather than just trying to endlessly scale the egg logistics, he looked around and decided to solve a completely different vulnerability in the village economy. He took on the notoriously flawed village grocery store model.
Oh, physical retail in these communities suffers from a massive social vulnerability. It's primarily centered around a cultural system known as baki.
Baki, which translates to unpaid tabs or informal credit, right?
Exactly.
Because if you open a physical shop in a village, your customers are your uncles, your childhood friends, your neighbors.
Right, everyone knows you.
The social fabric practically demands that you allow them to buy everyday staples on credit. They promise to pay next week, but next week constantly gets pushed back.
And before long, the shop owner has all their working capital trapped in unpaid debts, they can't restock their shelves, and the business just slowly suffocates.
It creates this localized accounts receivable crisis.
Yeah, the social pressure to extend credit overrides basic business fundamentals. It destroys the liquidity required to maintain inventory.
And Hassadul actually experienced this firsthand. He initially tried setting up a small physical shop on his porch.
How did that go?
Well, within the first week, relatives and neighbors arrived expecting the standard credit arrangement.
Of course they did.
He had very rapid sunk cost calculation. He realized that saying no would alienate his community and destroy his social relationships.
But saying yes would destroy his capital.
Exactly. So what's his solution? He permanently shuttered the physical shop after just a few days.
Recognizing a fatal structural flaw early and having the discipline to just walk away rather than fighting a losing battle, I mean, that is a hallmark of a highly pragmatic operator.
He walked away from the storefront, but he didn't walk away from the grocery demand.
Ah.
He pivoted to a direct-to-consumer subscription model he called the zero credit cash box.
Okay, I love the sound of that. How does it work?
He traveled to the large city wholesale market and purchased bulk household essentials, rice, dal, cooking oil, onions, soap. He then curated these goods into 7-day and 30-day mega boxes.
Okay.
But crucially, he didn't try to sell these to everyone. He specifically targeted expat families, school teachers, and salaried workers living in the village.
What's fascinating here is that targeting is the key. He actively filtered out the broader financially volatile community and isolated the consumer segment that possessed predictable monthly liquidity.
His pitch was incredibly sharp. He would approach a school teacher and explain that they normally spend, say, 13,200 taka a month on these exact staples, plus the physical hassle of dragging them home from the market through the mud.
Right, the inconvenience of it all.
Hasadul offered to deliver that entire curated bundle straight to their door for just 3,000 taka.
So a discount.
Yeah, but the only catch, the transaction requires a 100% upfront cash payment on the first day of the month. Absolutely no credit allowed.
Let's look at the underlying margin structure of that offer. Hasadul's wholesale acquisition cost for the goods inside that bundle is 2,700 taka.
Okay.
The customer perceives a 200 taka discount off the standard retail price, while Hasadul locks in 300 taka of pure upfront margin per box.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back here. We just established that the Baki credit system is practically a mandatory way of life in this culture.
It is.
How does he actually get away with demanding upfront cash without offending people or facing the exact same social backlash he avoided by closing his porch shop?
You're highlighting the immense difficulty of altering entrenched financial behaviors. If Hasadul simply ran a traditional open-door shop and aggressively demanded cash, he would face intense cultural friction and, frankly, pride-based rejection.
Right.
But he overcomes that friction by offering overwhelming tangible value that outweighs the cultural norm. He isn't just dictating a no-credit policy.
Yeah.
He is offering a closed-loop subscription that provides a real financial discount and extreme logistical convenience. When the alternative is undeniably better for the consumer's wallet and their time, they will willingly adapt their payment habits.
That makes total sense.
He completely bypassed the toxic accounts receivable trap just by changing the context of the transaction.
By shifting from a reactive storefront to a proactive subscription, he completely insulated himself. With just 50 families subscribed to this model, he's clearing 15,000 taka in monthly profit.
Wow.
He pays no commercial rent. He has zero bad debt keeping him awake at night. It is essentially a localized, bicycle-powered version of a modern B2C meal kit delivery service.
Like the HelloFresh.
Yeah, but optimized for a rural economy.
He stripped out the physical overhead and the financial drag, leaving him with a remarkably lean, predictable, and high-margin retail operation.
So Hasadul now has two highly efficient businesses moving physical goods, the premium boxed eggs and the zero-credit grocery subscriptions. His capital is working hard for him.
Very hard.
But his third pivot is perhaps the most fascinating, because he steps out of physical logistics entirely.
Wait, really? What does he do?
He looks around his environment and targets the ultimate low-overhead, high-margin sector, the attention economy.
Oh, this is brilliant. So he begins analyzing his local environment not for physical resources, but for unmonetized behavioral patterns. He goes looking for idle traffic.
Exactly. And the highest density of idle traffic in any village is the local tea stall. Every evening, these stalls are packed with hundreds of villagers gathered to socialize.
Right, it's the community hub.
The stall owners have successfully captured the community's attention, but they are monetizing it terribly. They're selling a cup of tea for 5 taka and a biscuit for 2 taka. The volume of people is huge, but the transaction value is just microscopic.
It's a classic audience monetization problem. The stall owner holds captive audience, but lacks the technological or structural mechanism to extract meaningful value from that density of attention.
So what does this all mean? Hasadul takes 8,000 to 10,000 taka of his profits and purchases a smart Android projector.
Okay.
Nothing overly complex, just a portable unit that can run off his smartphone's mobile hotspot. He approaches the owner of the busiest tea stall in the local market with a proposal.
What's the pitch?
He offers to hang a white cloth in the shop and provide a free 100-inch screen to broadcast live sports and movies every evening. He guarantees the stall owner that this mini stadium atmosphere will easily double their nightly tea sales.
And they catch.
The only condition is that Hasadul retains total ownership and operational control of the projector.
From the perspective of the tea stall owner, this is an irresistible proposition. I mean, they receive a massive guaranteed increase in foot traffic and core product sales with zero capital expenditure and zero technical maintenance.
They don't have to lift a finger.
Right? Hasadul absorbs the hardware cost and the operational friction.
The stall owner gladly accepts. But how does Hasadul actually generate revenue if the screening is free for the stall owner and the viewers?
He monetizes the screen.
He leverages that newly amplified captive audience. He approaches the large local merchants in the area, the fertilizer dealers, the cement distributors, the pharmacies, the local diagnostic centers.
They're smart.
He points out that every single evening, 200 to 300 local men are sitting in that tea stall staring at his 100-inch screen. He offers to project their digital advertisements or special offers directly onto that screen during the sports breaks.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Hasadul independently engineered a localized, out-of-home advertising network. If you think about the needs of a local fertilizer dealer, a broad national television ad is incredibly inefficient and expensive. They need hyper-targeted marketing.
Exactly.
An advertisement placed directly in front of 300 specific local farmers sitting together in their own village is an incredibly potent and valuable marketing channel.
And he prices this localized access perfectly. He charges just 500 taka a month for an ad slot on his projector. He secures 10 local businesses, instantly generating 5,000 taka a month in completely passive income.
The return on capital expenditure here is just staggering. His maximum initial hardware cost was 10,000 taka. Generating 5,000 taka a month, he fully recoups his entire investment in exactly 2 months.
2 months to break even. And from month 3 onward, it is pure margin. He manages no physical inventory, he pays no commercial rent, and he doesn't even have to brew the tea.
That is amazing.
He simply runs digital files from his phone's hotspot while the stall owner handles the crowds. It is essentially a localized billboard network, scaled perfectly to fit the contours of a microeconomy.
It's a brilliantly constructed win-win-win ecosystem. The tea stall owner drastically increases daily revenue. The local merchants gain access to highly targeted, affordable advertising. And Hasadul secures a passive, zero marginal cost income stream built entirely on top of someone else's physical real estate.
It is a remarkable progression of business acumen. To bring all of this together for you listening, we started this deep dive by questioning the assumption that you need massive infrastructure, big city resources, and huge capital to build sophisticated businesses.
Right.
Hasadul's trajectory completely dismantles that myth. Whether you're strategizing in a corporate boardroom or observing the daily habits of a rural village, the core mechanics of identifying value and mitigating risk remain universally applicable.
What we have explored today is a profound exercise in cognitive reframing. The most effective operators don't necessarily need to invent new technologies. They simply look at persistent traditional problems through a different lens. Hasadul looked at catastrophic agricultural disease, the culturally toxic trap of retail debt, and the unmonetized idle crowds at a tea stall. Where the rest of the community saw insurmountable roadblocks or just the mundane reality of daily life, he saw hidden assets and structural inefficiencies waiting to be systematically solved.
He didn't wait for a massive external investment or a change in geography. He engineered his own leverage out of the very problems everyone else was resigned to. He transformed a fragile, heavily manipulated egg supply chain into a premium, insulated brand.
Incredible.
He converted a financially destructive credit culture into a high-margin, cash-up-front subscription service. And he turned a crowd of guys drinking cheap tea into a lucrative digital advertising network, all originating from a $130 seed fund.
Which leaves us with a critical question to examine in our own environments. If a young man operating with just 15,000 taka could uncover and monetize 3 distinct, highly profitable inefficiencies hiding in plain sight in a traditional village, what massive, overlooked inefficiencies are sitting right in front of you in your highly modernized, complex industry, just waiting for a surprisingly simple, low-tech solution? What if I told you that an entrepreneur in this really remote, dusty village built a highly profitable, diversified business portfolio starting with just 15,000 taka?
Which is What, like 130 US dollars or something?
Yeah, exactly. Roughly 130 bucks. And no venture capital, no shiny apps, no air-conditioned office, literally zero Wi-Fi required.
Oh, wow. I mean, that completely shatters the illusion most of us carry around.
Right.
We convince ourselves that the barrier to entry for any new venture is always financial. Like we look at our environment and we only see the resources we don't have,
Exactly. We completely miss the massive inefficiencies that are just, sitting right there waiting to be reorganized.
waiting to be scooped up.
Yeah. And that is the exact mission for today's deep dive. We're unpacking the blueprint of this rural entrepreneur named Hasadul.
It's an absolute wake-up call, really.
It totally is. The underlying philosophy here takes a delightfully aggressive stance, honestly. It basically calls out anyone who sits around a coffee shop or a tea stall, just watching success videos on their phone.
Right, the people blaming their ancestors for not leaving them a trust fund.
Exactly. Complaining that they're stuck in a place with no opportunities.
Well, the central thesis is just remarkably blunt. The problem isn't that your environment lacks money or opportunity.
Hmm.
The problem is, and I love this phrase, from the source they call it a rusted brain.
A rusted brain. It stings a little, doesn't it?
It really does.
Hmm.
But the argument is that any environment, even a seemingly impoverished rural village, is actually a gold mine. You just need the critical thinking skills to extract the value.
Instead of just following the herd, it's such a powerful visual, the rusted brain thing, because it makes you wonder how often you and I get paralyzed by the idea that we don't have the right resources.
Oh, constantly. We all do it.
But Hasadul didn't have those resources either. With that microscopic seed fund of $130, he built 3 distinct, totally risk-averse income streams.
And those streams eventually netted him what, like 70,000 to 80,000 taka a month?
Yeah, which translates to about $600 to $700, which in a rural economy is a phenomenal upper middle class salary.
And he did it without inventing a single new piece of technology. That's the craziest part to me.
Right. He just looked at these traditional centuries-old rural business models, found their fatal structural flaws, and engineered these brilliant logistical workarounds.
I should probably start by looking at his first move, honestly, because it perfectly illustrates how to separate profit from physical risk.
Oh yeah, the poultry business. Let's
Yeah.
unpack this, because jumping headfirst into chicken farming is the most common rural startup mistake.
Oh, absolutely. What usually happens is someone decides they want to be an entrepreneur, right? So they go and take out a massive loan from a local NGO just to start a poultry farm.
Which is just a massive debt trap.
It's a total trap. They borrow heavily to build the infrastructure, buy the livestock, and get all the commercial feed.
Mm-hmm.
But the fatal flaw is that they take on 100% of the biological risk.
Right. We're talking about environments where a single outbreak of a viral disease like Ronnie Ket or what we know as Newcastle disease or bird flu can just sweep through a densely packed farm.
And wipe out the entire flock in a matter of days, just gone.
The reality is brutal. The chickens literally put their feet in the air, and that's the end of the business.
Yeah, the farmer's left bankrupt, sitting on the street with a destroyed livelihood and an NGO loan they can't possibly repay.
It's basically a biological game of Russian roulette.
Exactly. It's a high-risk, low-margin game. It requires scale and veterinary expertise that most of these villagers simply don't have.
But Hasadul looked at this system and saw it for what it was, an incredibly dangerous way to work.
Right, he wanted the steady daily profits of the egg business, but he absolutely refused to take on the physical risk of keeping the actual birds alive.
So he engineers this concept of a virtual poultry network. When I was reading this part, my jaw actually dropped.
It's so smart.
It's basically rural dropshipping. It's like the Uber model applied to agriculture. Uber doesn't own the cars, and Hasadul decided, hey, I'm not going to own the chickens.
He doesn't feed them. He doesn't clean up after them. He doesn't buy them medicine. Nothing.
But he still manages to capture the absolute cream of the profit margin. How did he actually pull that off?
Well, it was pure observation. Instead of building a centralized farm, he just looked closely at his own village and the neighboring ones.
Okay.
He identified about 40 specific households where the local women were already raising 3 or 4 local free-range ducks or chickens in their backyards.
Ah, so not commercial broilers.
Right, exactly. These are the highly sought-after, pure village birds.
And his execution is so simple it hurts. He just goes to their houses twice a week and buys their daily eggs for strict hard cash.
And you have to understand, cash provides immediate liquidity, which is incredibly rare in those rural economies.
Because previously, what were they doing?
Well, these women were gathering these eggs and just waiting for the weekly market day. They had to travel, haggle, and waste their entire afternoon just to sell a dozen eggs.
So suddenly, Hasadul is just standing at their front door, offering instant cash at a fair rate.
Exactly. They were so thrilled with the convenience that they stopped going to the market entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, within weeks, he effectively locked down the entire local supply chain of premium, authentic village eggs.
And I love that we get to see his failure here. The journey wasn't totally smooth.
Oh, definitely not.
He secures this amazing supply chain, loads all these eggs into a basket on his bicycle, and tries to take them to the local retail market himself.
And it turns into a total disaster.
A complete mess. The rural market syndicates, which essentially function as local cartels that control commodity pricing, they completely lowball him.
They offered him basically pennies on the dollar.
And on top of that, riding a bicycle over deeply rutted mud roads with a loose basket of eggs is just a logistical nightmare.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, he broke a dozen eggs on the very first day and took a harsh financial loss.
Which, represents the critical pivot point for any entrepreneur. The traditional system forcefully rejected him.
Right.
The market syndicates controlled the pricing, and his physical logistics were deeply flawed. Most people would just quit right there and say the whole business is a failure.
But Hasadul realized he couldn't compete in a race to the bottom on price. He had to bypass the traditional market entirely.
By drastically increasing the perceived value of his commodity.
Yes, this is what they describe as his devilish brain solution.
I love that term.
He abandons the bargain hunters in the open-air market. He travels into the nearest city and buys professional cardboard egg cartons.
Like the standard 1 dozen boxes you see in any supermarket.
Exactly. They cost him roughly 5 to 6 taka each. Then he prints out a very cheap custom sticker that simply says, "Pure Village Local Egg," and slaps it on the top.
Think about the psychology there. It is a masterclass in branding and positioning.
It really is.
By placing a loose, fragile commodity into a structured box, he transformed it into a premium, artisanal good.
And with that premium product, he shifted his target demographic. He completely bypassed the rural market and went straight to the sub-district town.
Right, going after the money.
Yeah, he targeted urban bakeries, high-end sweet shops, and the residential quarters of government officials and doctors.
And his sales pitch is just brilliant. He knocks on the door of an affluent town resident and says, "Look, you're feeding your family factory eggs from commercial broiler chickens."
Ugh, nobody wants that if they have a choice.
Right. So he follows up with, "I have pure, authentic village eggs, sourced directly from backyard farmers this morning, and they are sealed in this protective box."
Which completely changes the conversation from price to quality.
Let's look at the underlying mechanics of why this is so lucrative, actually. He buys a dozen eggs from the village women for 150 taka.
Okay, so his base cost is about 12.5 taka per egg.
Right. Then add the cardboard box and the sticker, which is roughly 6 taka.
And what about the broken egg problem? Did he fix that?
Yes. To solve the broken egg problem, he stops using his bicycle. He ships them via an easy bike, which is a local motorized rickshaw sending 20 boxes at a time to the town for a flat rate of 50 taka.
Oh, wow. That breaks down to just 2.5 to 3 taka per box for safe, secure transport.
Exactly. So his total landed cost to get one premium box to an urban customer's door is about 160 taka.
And because those affluent town residents are desperate for that pure village aesthetic and quality, he sells that exact same box for 200 to 230 taka.
Which means he's walking away with a solid, predictable profit of 40 to 70 taka on every single dozen.
And the scaling is where the magic really happens.
Of course, absolutely. By moving just 100 boxes a week, which is 1,200 eggs, he generates a weekly profit of about 4,000 taka.
That translates to 16,000 taka of pure net profit every single month.
And his total capital requirement remains minuscule. He just recycles that original 15,000 taka to buy the next week's batch.
Zero disease risk. He manages no physical farm, and he holds no massive loans.
He just plays the middleman, moving a premium product from point A to point B. It's incredibly smart.
But he doesn't stop there.
No, he does not.
He takes the steady, rotating cash flow from those eggs and uses it to fund a second venture. And this one takes aim at the ultimate curse of the rural economy.
The local grocery store.
The local grocery store. It's a fascinating sociological trap, really.
It is. In these communities, there's a concept called baki, which translates to store credit.
Right.
But it's much deeper than just a business transaction. It's a profound cultural obligation.
Because the shopkeeper invests heavily to stock their shelves with rice, oil, lentils.
But because the village is a tight-knit community, neighbors, cousins, and uncles come in and ask to put their groceries on a tab.
And that is a fatal bottleneck. I mean, if you're a shopkeeper, you can't really look your uncle in the eye and refuse him food.
You can't. But if you give him the goods on credit, you lose your working capital.
You become the bad guy if you demand payment, and you go bankrupt if you don't.
It creates a massive cash flow paralysis. The shopkeeper ends up sitting in a store with empty shelves, holding a notebook full of empty promises, completely unable to restock inventory.
And Hasadul actually attempted to open a small traditional shop on his porch initially, didn't he?
He did, and within the very first week, his relatives and neighbors descended, all asking for credit.
So he saw the trap immediately. You either ruin your social relationships by saying no, or you destroy your business by saying yes.
Exactly. So in another ruthless move, he just shuts the physical storefront down completely.
Just closed up shop.
Yeah, he realized that merely having an open door was an invitation for people to exploit his capital.
Closing the physical shop was a brilliant social defense mechanism. He removed the visual trigger that prompted people to ask for favors in the first place.
Instead, he engineered a closed-loop, direct-to-consumer subscription model.
I look at this as the ultimate rural HelloFresh box, or like a localized Amazon Prime for kitchen staples.
That's a great way to think about it.
He travels to the large wholesale market in the town, buys bulk items, rice, lentils, soybean oil, onions, soap at the absolute lowest wholesale tier.
And then he curates 2 specific packages, a 7-day weekly box and a 30-day mega box.
But the crucial pivot here is his change in demographic.
Yeah.
He completely ignored the local neighbors who historically relied on credit.
Right, he went after a totally different tier of the rural economy.
Who was that?
The families of expatriate workers receiving foreign remittances, school teachers, and salaried government workers.
Okay, wait, I need to pause and really dig into this.
Sure.
You're telling me that in a culture deeply hardwired to buy a single onion or a cup of rice on credit day by day, people are suddenly willing to hand over a massive lump sum of cash up front for a month's worth of groceries.
It sounds wild, right?
It seems to completely defy human nature in that environment. How is he possibly enforcing that?
Well, it's because he recognized that these specific demographics, the expats, families, and the salaried teachers, actually have steady cash flow. What they lack is time, energy, and a desire to deal with the chaos of the rural market. His value proposition is laser-focused on their specific pain points.
So what's the pitch?
He approaches the head of the household and says, "Why are you trudging through the mud, fighting the crowds, and haggling with vendors on your day off? The exact basket of groceries that costs you 3,200 taka at retail prices, I will deliver directly to your kitchen for 3,000 taka.
So they're seeing an immediate, tangible discount of 200 taka.
Plus the luxury of free home delivery. But Hasadul sets one unbreakable, non-negotiable boundary.
Which is?
Direct cash on the first of the month. Absolutely no credit, no exceptions.
And because the financial savings and the lifestyle upgrade are so undeniable, these families willingly agree to his terms.
Exactly. It completely flips the traditional script.
Let's look at the margins on this subscription box. Hasadul buys the contents of that monthly mega box at wholesale for 2,700 taka.
Right.
He sells it to the family for 3,000 taka. So he's locking in a solid 300 taka profit per household.
And consider his overhead. It is practically non-existent.
Because he isn't paying rent for a shop.
He isn't paying a clerk. He simply packs the boxes in his own home and delivers them himself on his bicycle, or maybe a rented van, on the first and second days of the month.
Which means if he secures just 50 families on this monthly plan, he's generating 15,000 taka a month in pure, stress-free profit.
While the traditional shopkeepers are taking blood pressure medication, agonizing over which neighbor owes them money.
Yeah, Hasadul is sleeping perfectly soundly. He gets paid in full, in hard cash, before the month even begins.
He essentially hacked the entire local supply chain. He eliminated the expensive real estate of a storefront, he eradicated the cultural risk of unpaid debts, and he secured his working capital up front.
All while using the same 15,000 to 20,000 taka of rotating capital that he uses for the egg business.
It's a masterclass in optimizing physical goods.
It really is. But the absolute genius of his portfolio is his third venture.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
He transitions from these active logistical businesses into pure passive income. And he does it by monetizing something completely invisible, idle, local foot traffic.
Right. To understand this, you really have to understand the sociology of the rural tea stall.
Okay, set the scene for us.
In these villages, the tea stall is the town square. It's the local pub, the internet forum, and the community center all rolled into one.
Every single evening, hundreds of people gather there after work to just sit, chat, and spend time together.
But the monetization of that crowd is historically terrible.
Yeah, the shop owner is pouring hot water and selling a 5 taka cup of tea and a 2 taka biscuit. They have a massive captive audience, but they're making absolute pennies on the hour.
Hasadul looks at this daily gathering and doesn't just see a crowd of tired farmers and workers. He sees highly concentrated, completely unmonetized, idle attention.
He recognizes that a captive audience of 300 people is a massively undervalued asset.
Yes. So he takes 8,000 to 10,000 taka of his grocery profits, which is about $70 or $80, and he buys a cheap, smart Android projector.
The kind that doesn't need complex wiring, right? It just connects to a mobile phone hotspot.
Exactly. He walks into the busiest tea stall and makes the owner an offer that is impossible to refuse.
He says, "I will hang a white bedsheet on your wall. I will set up this projector and stream live cricket matches and movies every single night.
I'm going to turn your little tea shop into a mini stadium, completely free of charge. Your tea and biscuit sales are going to double overnight."
And the stall owner is ecstatic. I mean, he gets a massive competitive advantage for zero investment.
But the true genius is the caveat. Hasadul maintains total, exclusive control over the projector.
That blank white sheet is now his digital real estate.
Right. Once he has established an audience of 200 to 300 people staring at a 100-inch screen every night, he turns his attention to the real money.
He goes to the other local businesses in the area, the local fertilizer dealer, the pharmacy, the cement and rod shop, the diagnostic center.
And this often confuses people who are used to urban advertising models.
I was definitely confused. I mean, why would a local fertilizer shop selling bags of soil nutrients to farmers think they need to buy digital advertising?
It seems overkill, right?
Yeah, that feels like something only massive corporate brands do on national television.
Well, it works because Hasadul offers hyper-local targeting at a price point that is just a no-brainer.
How does he pitch it?
He explains the psychology to these business owners. He says, look, 200 to 300 farmers and builders from this exact village sit mesmerized in front of my screen every night. These are your exact daily customers.
Oh, wow.
For just 500 taka a month, which is barely $4, I will project your digital banner or your special discount code on that massive screen during the breaks in the cricket match.
Your shop's name will be burned into the memory of every single person in this village.
Exactly. For $4 a month, the fertilizer dealer gets guaranteed top-of-mind awareness in his exact target market. It's an incredibly easy sell.
They do the mental math and agree instantly. Let's look at the final numbers on this piece of the puzzle. Hasadul signs up just 10 local shops at 500 taka each. That generates 5,000 taka of pure passive income every single month.
Which means that 10,000 taka projector pays for itself entirely in just 2 months.
And from month 3 onward, it's 100% profit. He doesn't pay a dime in rent for the tea stall.
He doesn't have to boil the water, make the tea, or wash a single cup.
He just walks in, turns on the projector via his phone, and collects the ad revenue.
It's the ultimate low-maintenance asset.
So let's pull all of this together and look at the empire he built from basically nothing.
Yeah, let's summarize the baseline.
Hasadul starts with about $130. He creates the virtual poultry network, leveraging packaging to bypass syndicates, netting him around 16,000 taka.
Then he creates the zero-credit cash box, using subscriptions to bypass social guilt and secure upfront capital, netting him another 15,000.
And he builds this hyper-local passive ad network, bringing in 5,000. That is a baseline of 36,000 taka.
And as he scaled these 3 synchronized models up, selling more egg boxes, securing more grocery subscribers, perhaps installing a second projector in another village, his combined income reached an effortless 70,000 to 80,000 taka a month.
And we keep coming back to the most critical lesson here. He didn't invent anything.
Nothing at all. He didn't invent eggs, he didn't invent lentils, and he didn't invent projectors.
He simply observed the socioeconomic friction in his environment.
The biological risk of the chickens, the cultural trap of store credit, the unmonetized attention at the tea stall.
And he reorganized existing systems to remove those frictions. So how does this translate to you listening right now?
Well, You might live in a high-rise apartment and work in corporate finance. You probably have absolutely no desire to source eggs or deliver wholesale onions.
Probably not.
But the underlying frameworks of hospital success are universally applicable to whatever industry you're in.
That is the real takeaway. It is all about the frameworks.
Look at the three pillars. First, outsourcing the physical risk while capturing the premium margin through better presentation.
Right.
Second, recognizing when a traditional business model is structurally toxic, like the credit system, and having the courage to pivot to a model that secures upfront commitment.
And third, identifying where captive attention is gathering in your industry and finding a low-cost way to monetize that real estate.
This entire story makes a deeply compelling argument that opportunities are massive, exactly because people aren't applying this kind of critical thinking to their immediate surroundings.
Everyone assumes the money, the innovation, and the success are located somewhere else, usually in the city or with the people who have millions in funding.
It serves as a powerful reminder that a lack of capital is rarely the actual bottleneck preventing success.
Right. The true bottleneck is usually a lack of creative problem solving and a failure to deeply observe the behavioral psychology of the people around you.
The philosophy we explored today ends with a direct challenge, and I think it's the perfect note to strike here.
Oh, let's hear it.
Until you learn to turn people's problems into your assets, your income will remain zero.
Wow. That's a harsh reality to face, but an absolutely necessary one.
It really is. Every inefficiency you experience in your day, a broken corporate supply chain, a frustrated demographic of customers, a massive gathering of unmonetized attention, it's an asset just waiting for the right person to build it.
And that wraps up our deep dive into these brilliant rural business blueprints. We started this conversation talking about the massive mountain we think we have to climb.
That illusion that we need venture capital and a flawless business plan to start something meaningful.
Hassett will prove that all you really need is an eye for inefficiency and a willingness to defy the traditional way of doing things.
It profoundly reframes how you look at the economics of the world immediately around you.
It absolutely does. So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today as you go back to your routine.
Take a close look around.
Think about your own workplace, your specific industry, or even just your daily commute. What is the village tea stall in your life?
Where is that idle attention?
Exactly. Where is there a massive gathering of idle attention or a completely unoptimized, frustrating routine just waiting for a cheap projector to turn it into a lucrative asset? The capital you need to make a massive change might be a lot less than you think. You just need to unrust your brain.